It says live now.
We live now.
Okay, well, fuck it. We back. Welcome back to the To Be Fair show. I am your host, Johnny P.
Over here, real.
It's Q.
And we back. Before we get into it, I want to tell everybody, hit the notification button, hit like, follow us at the To Be Fair show. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. It's the To Be Fair show. And I guess we'll go ahead and kick it off. We got a
Rock, paper, scissors.
rock, paper,
Get
scissors.
to it real quick.
Let's
Figure
go.
out where we want to go.
How we gonna do it?
All right, y'all ready?
Yep. Get both of y'all niggas up out of here.
Johnny.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start with Johnny.
Yeah, we'll do that.
He hype.
It's a 1-on-1. Miss Amy, your good luck charm.
It's
My bad. Is that a spoiler to who our special guest is?
A little bit of I guess not even a little
gave
bit
it away.
now.
Now.
Gave it away.
A little
You
bit.
Gave it all away.
You gave it away, but that's it's whatever, man. I do this.
You do it.
I do that.
All right, let's just let that. I'll let that rock.
Niggas win percentage be like 10%, and they say they do it. That's different.
It got done, didn't it? It got done. Oh. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
man, I see something. Go ahead, Johnny.
Let's start it off right in the middle right there, man. Yeah. Disadvantages of dating a coworker. I want to see what the fellas think. Have y'all ever done it?
Disadvantages.
You ever dated a coworker?
Dang, I don't think I really dated a coworker.
All right. So define dating. When you say dating, what you mean by that?
I mean, seeing on a regular, boyfriend, girlfriend. It could be just
or having a relationship beyond a work relationship.
Yeah, anything outside of like.
All right. So because that, to me, like I think that's so slippery. Have I had relations with like coworkers? Yes. Like actually been inside like an actual full-fledged relationship? I don't think so. Nah, I'd say no, unless we talking about like heroines type shit when we kind of younger. But I would say, you said disadvantages? I mean, I think it's simple. The disadvantages would be the fact that if things go awry, then you still gotta look at that person 40 hours a week, and that just is what it is. It's a lot of advantages too.
Yeah, but another disadvantage would be like when things aren't going as well, it's even harder for you both to cover that up while amongst the coworkers. You know what I mean? That can bleed over into the workday, and that would probably be one of the worst things. And then it's easy, folk getting in your business. You end up venting to somebody, but then that's somebody you work with.
Oh, no, you don't vent to your coworkers.
Yeah, I'm just saying people do it all the time.
It happens.
People do it all the time.
Now I'm gonna say a lot of times the thing is if like you're on different levels.
Well, I think that's illegal. That's what my boy Ume got caught up with. That's the thing that you're not supposed to do.
Oh, you
according to HR,
like your manager, or
your manager,
like
your
someone
boss.
that's in your.
But that's a subordinate. But like if you're in like,
what you mean by different level?
Like if you're in sales and somebody's in like, the call center or something like that, or the BDC or like a different department. Sometimes it's not necessarily like subordinate. Yeah, you shouldn't date nobody that you report to or something. But sometimes if it's another.
So you meant y'all do different things?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the disadvantage of that?
Also, that's the one way where I see it. That's the better way to do it. If you're going to do it, but if you're dating like a subordinate or somebody in your department, that's when the shit get. That's when it can get a little sticky or a little. People in your business.
Who just came on the job, Johnny?
No, ain't nobody come on my job.
Johnny, he thinking about it. Who's that?
Well, I've done it before and it didn't work out right, and that's why I'm totally against it. Like
you're totally against it. You got horror stories. Give us one.
Nah, this ain't.
Last week we heard about you getting beat up. I like to hear about her keying your car. I like to hear about it. What you got for us, Johnny?
Oh no, it's just. It ain't even no horror story. It's just it didn't work out. Like I'm still employed at the place, so she's no.
You got a fight? Yeah,
she's no longer employed.
You a cold.
But yeah, we ain't finna do that because I still work there, so it's neither here nor there.
Say you won.
Hey, like I say, I do this.
Any horror stories, bro?
No, man. Like I say, I just thought about. I have dated a female that I work with. Obviously, it didn't work out, but it was, you know what I mean, just two different type of times, and I never got like any of like the negatives of how bad it could have gotten if she would have been a different type of person.
Yeah,
but I ain't never had no real serious, nothing worth talking about.
I'll tell you this: if you work in the school system, all them teachers fucking.
If
they around the same age, we go to happy hour and then we just go have a good time.
Oh, so you were saying you was dropping off a lot of teachers, is what you said?
That's when I was like when I talked to the most people like coworkers. It was during those times.
Bonding over them children.
Well, I mean, I think that it's, to be honest, it's especially if you're around like a cohort of teachers that's inside the same age range. So like if like this is me fresh out of Central, and maybe some of them might be like a couple years older, but everybody's around that same like 23 to 26 age range where like you at school, but you still young enough and you still just like being around your peers, and attraction is attraction. But yeah, I don't really have any horror stories. Johnny, I guess you could toss us to the next one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let me get the we'll switch gears a little bit. Go back up a little bit. Go back up. Let me get the left side one more up. It's the three kids. Yeah, right there. No, they doing the interview. Nah, the black dudes. Top left. Since we talking about teachers.
Demon, nigga. Cheesecake. Y'all niggas smart? No, right? Come on, bro. All right, so boom. What is pie?
What is pie? Got you. So it's a whole different bunch of type of pies. Feel me? It's sweet potato pie, apple pie, cherry pie, bean pie. Assalamu alaikum, you heard? Answer.
I just had some bean
pie. What the fuck are you talking about?
Hold on. Bro, look, bro. This shit.
Nigga, that's a P, nigga. It don't say E at the end, nigga. That's not pie, nigga.
You in school right now?
Come on, bro. I thought he said 2.14.
So you a senior?
Facts.
What the fuck?
What position does Kamala Harris currently hold?
I don't know, like fourth place?
What?
Maybe. Hey?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
You talking about I'm dumb. Listen to this nigga, bro. That was a porn star.
That's a porn star? Who am I here with?
They the demon, nigga.
Cheesecake. Y'all niggas smart?
No, right?
Come on, bro. Right, so what is pie?
What is pie? Got you. So it's a whole different.
Hey, let's check into the comments for a quick second. What we got there, Tone? Look like somebody they.
A lot of people have met their spouses at work.
Oh damn! I did want to get into that part though.
I always ask a couple how they met. Top 2 answers online or at work.
Yeah, I actually we kind of skipped and went a different way, but that is actually kind of like the thing. Most people marry people that they're around, and a lot of times it ends up being co-workers of some sort.
And I think that we were talking about specifically the disadvantages, and that's why we didn't really go on the other side of it. But I've definitely seen, and what it does is it gives you a go-to conversation, something that is you can have a fruitful conversation just because you will both have so it just gives you a
shared experience.
Exactly that shared experience, the level of conversation that you can have. It's different when like I'm trying to explain to you what I do for work, and you've never been in any type of scenario to where I have to understand what the thing. I have to explain what the thing is before I can even move forward to tell you what happened. You know what I mean? It just is. I can see where that can be healthy.
Yeah, y'all both can complain about the same shit.
I mean, I can see
a common enemy ain't bad.
I can see the disadvantage though. Like that's a lot of time spent around each other, especially if you live together.
Yeah, but you wouldn't necessarily spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, but I think the slippery part would be like if y'all literally are working next to each other.
Yeah,
I think more times than not, it's in scenarios whether it's like department store and you work inside the electronics and she works in a flower department or something like that, where a lot of times maybe y'all meet up on your breaks, but yeah, a lot of times you don't really be saying.
That's true though. In the school,
lunchtime drop-offs too.
In the school system,
lunchtime drop-offs. It is wild. Facts. Hey, shout out Connect to Life Photography. That's my boy right there.
Oh yeah, appreciate you watching, brother.
All right, so I guess do we want to? Do y'all have commentary about the meme? I ain't really got too much to say.
That was funny though. That man said 4th place. That was hilarious.
Well, no, I think this show we got to do better as a people, bro. Because it's some shit out there, boy. Motherfuckers don't really
be seeing some shit stuff.
Don't be knowing a lot of what's going on.
I want to go to whichever one you seen up there that disgusted you. When he first pulled up, something made you feel away. I want to see that one.
All right, so I'll start just by saying I'm probably like 110-0 inside Jordan, LeBron.
Oh,
debates.
I don't care about that.
Yeah. So I seen it.
Go to that one. I saw that too. Yeah, I don't care about that.
I actually looked at it and I was like, look at all these made up stats. It's a like playoff win share percentage and shit like that.
I didn't choose that one. I threw it in there as an option. I gotta let me click on it first. I didn't say click on it.
I just knew that he was discussing.
I'm so seasoned at that debate. I just be like, all right, which angle they gonna go at? All right,
click on that one yet. Like, chill out.
All right, give us one more, Johnny.
Chill out.
Why did you put the chick eating spaghetti in the juice?
You click that one in.
Let's see what it is.
That one in.
POV, she said she doesn't eat at Cheesecake Factory, so I took her to a 5-star restaurant and she did this.
Smashing that joke. That's crazy. The spaghetti hit though. Yeah.
What?
That's crazy.
I was a little hungry.
Dang.
Good Lord.
Just get the whole chain.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny. I mean, I think it says a lot, you know. It says probably almost all, you know.
No, I'd agree because most of the people that be talking all that stuff ain't really experienced these things to even be versed in it. That's me. You know what I mean? I don't be eating no 5-star, all that shit. I'm gonna go and get, you know what I mean? Yeah, give me the fettuccine Alfredo.
Are you a chicken tender boy?
No, I ain't
like
a chicken
you go to
tender
the you go to Steak 48. I take the chicken tenders.
I used to be.
You just do the flats.
Developed
now.
my palate since
So give me all flats.
Yeah, that if I do get the wings, I want all flats, bro.
Right, speaking of,
and I want that exotic honey barbecue sauce or whatever.
What is it? What's the exotic sauce?
Man, it wasn't exotic. I mean, it wasn't exotic. It's a totally different debate. It wasn't exotic. It was honey barbecue versus teriyaki, and I stand on that. Hey, since we talking about food, give me one more, man. Give me the drumette on the side. Scroll up.
Oh boy,
right there. I stand on this one too.
Read it for us, Tom.
This little piece right here makes drums better than flats, especially when they're fried hard. No.
Nah, man.
I agree.
I mean, that little piece right there is fire, though. I know what you're talking about.
Every time I eat that, I always think that it's GMO. I be like, this is like some part that they grew out of the chicken.
Yeah, I don't care, bro. I don't care if it's fried hard. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'll take that. But I still want the all flats if I do that.
No, I don't do all flats. But I gotta have them drums, bro.
Johnny, who next up?
Who's next? Let me go rail.
I just knew you was gonna go with Q.
That's why I had to throw you off.
Let me see what I got in that juice.
Is that Jill Scott?
No, that one was just hilarious. That what did she call that? Go to that one, bro. This is one of those where just the.
Who is Bradley? And why is it $44? It's the tip. The tip. Y'all didn't put that shit on there?
Yeah, going to the tea.
All right. Who is Bradley? And why is it $44? Who is Bradley?
Shay.
Oh man.
I hope she's trolling.
Oh,
she was dead ass, bro.
Gratitude.
She was dead ass.
She was hot about that too. She was trying to get her 44 back.
Yeah. She said, "Who is it?" What else I throw in there? I don't care. Just pick one, Tony.
My thing about it is, I hate this in general about us as Black people at times. I kind of had an experience with this recently, where we will look for if you go with the wrong people. And y'all go to like whether it's the sushi spot, it's a nice spot, it's even a regular spot. It could be Chili's, a TGI Friday. first thing they gonna start doing is critiquing, so they ain't got to pay that tip. It be just you could just listen to them, and it's almost like they trying to find a reason why the service was bad. And I'd be like, bro, come on, I see what you're doing. Like,
that's crazy.
Come on, bro.
I think people do that with life in general, but yeah, you definitely see that's one spot.
Specifically with tips, like no matter how good the person that came, if they come in too much, they always bothering us, man. That's why I'd be like, come on, bro, like. Let's not do the nigga.
They trying to do too much for the tipping. No,
yeah, like, let's just find if they don't come. My water still ain't got filled up yet. Look at this. It's 30-minute water over here. You've been drinking 30 minutes. You've been drinking 6-hour water at your house.
6-hour water.
Shit, 2-day water at the house.
Right, just sitting on the counter. But all right, what else you got, bro?
I don't know. Let Tone do it. I can't even really. I don't remember them Jones. Just pick one, Tone.
I am a soft, sassy, or feminine man, and one thing I realized a while ago is that my masculinity has nothing to do with my sexuality. And I think that's one of the biggest contributors to this idea of toxic masculinity, is defining people's sexuality for them based off the way they express themselves, or the way that we assign gender to expression. Like, for instance, I will carry this bag around. Some people may call it a purse, but it is just a very convenient way for me not to carry things around my pocket anymore. Because what does carrying a purse around, getting my toes done, or taking care of myself have to do with my sexuality? Nothing. And I've never been more secure in my masculinity or sexuality, but I had to stop living up to society's definition of either.
All right, bro,
wow. Oh, it is almost as if
that was great. That was a great.
I once called myself a soft man. It's almost as if I once did that. No, but they said no. I must be gay. But now a light-skinned man with pink luscious lips, because he is dating you guys' fave Monet. You guys are, oh, Monet, you picked the best. You picked the best of us. But me, when I said it, they told me to jump off a bridge and go and die. They told me I'm a coon. Can you imagine? But now, because he has come with his beautiful, handsome face, because I'm not attractive, because I don't have pink, nice lips, they didn't answer me. Okay.
He actually made that really a lot more interesting, to be honest.
He took it a whole lot.
Yeah. He took it from a joke to like it actually became it's a better conversation. I'll throw it up. I thought that I think that added another layer.
I thought Red was coming into his sassy boy era.
That's what I was doing. I forgot that he was on the back end of this. I sent this one a few days ago. To me, I was having a conversation with one of the homies, and this was after I seen this, and they were talking about how, and I guess we don't really want to dive too deep in it, like a person being born with a specific preference.
Oh, do you believe or don't believe?
Yeah. So we were talking about that.
What you believe, Johnny?
We ain't got to go into that part of it. But
this rails mean? Why you asking me?
I thought we could get somewhere.
Essentially, what it was is that there was a 1-year-old, and it seemed, well, based on my homie's experience, he figured that he had, that he had to been born this way because it's so early. But then
there's nothing a 1-year-old could be doing.
But then we seen that like the grandmother would give the youngin baby dolls, and like was like kind of doubling down on it, on what their perception of him was, or they kind of just went with that. Whereas and then when talking about Buddy, the light skinned dude that was up there are softer dudes. So to go and jump the fence and say, oh, this is your sexual preference. First off, at 1 year old, you don't have a sexual preference.
Well, yeah. So you can't do that to kids. And that's weird when we start talking about kids and bring this, because it's like they're kids. Like we shouldn't even be even thinking about when we're talking about this subject.
Any version of the
like this subject, and kids shouldn't ever be included in one each other because they're kids. That's to me that's weird. But
for sure.
But like you say, it's like I agree with them though. Like your sexual preference literally has nothing to do with any of that other stuff that you're talking about. But like the other guy said, it's funny how like that message coming from one dude, if it rings home, it people can relate to it. And they said they was giving him praise for talking about that. But the black dude, before coming looking like me talking about that shit, don't nobody want to hear me talking about that shit. You know, shit that like tell me to go shut the fuck up and all of that shit. So that's very interesting.
Most spokespeople are what someone would deem a more attractive face. The person that is easily accepted, more easily accepted to present a message that is, or whatever that message is. They're usually trying to find someone that is more attractive to say said thing because for whatever reason, socially, we'll just accept it better. I'm not saying it's right, but it's just it's advertising and things that nature.
Well, yeah. I guess I don't really have too much more to add than what y'all hit. Y'all actually went into a space that I didn't think that y'all was gonna go. I thought I was gonna pretty much be sitting that perspective, but no. Cool, real, I guess.
All right, next. I get one more. Scroll up. Let me see what all I had there.
I don't know. This one looks like it might be like.
Oh, we'll choose it, man.
I went on a first date. And when I opened the door, my man was at my front door. And I was like, oh, like, right? And then he hit me with the Rico. He pulled the flowers out. And I was like, wow, this is different, right? So I'm not even paying attention. I brush past it, trying to walk down the steps and get to the door, right? Because I'm not paying attention. I'm just so not used to it. And it just hasn't, like, I just didn't have a lot of practice. He opened my car door. I get inside. He closed the door. I immediately went to my group chat. It's weird. Did you say he opened your car door?
High five.
No. Now let me explain, right? Let me explain. By the time we got to the restaurant, my follow-up text was, y'all, that's my bad. I just realized and all that stuff we be talking about, we don't really want it. And I felt like he technically did everything that we be saying we be wanting. In my mind, instinctively, my first thought was he corny. But he really did everything that we want. But I went on a first date.
Hey, what's the meme say, Tone?
LOL, I like when they say these things out of their own mouths. It makes men look less crazy, bitter, and whatever other labels they like to throw on them.
Yeah, I actually like her because I watched some of her stuff. Now she did say like her first instinct was it's weird, but then eventually she came back around and she was like,
no, she still didn't want it though. She came back around and all that.
So it felt like she wanted it after she came back around.
She came back.
Oh, she still said it was corny at the end, right?
No.
She said it was her bad, and
no. After my bad, then she said, but he did. He pretty much did everything we say we want. Then I realized we really don't want that shit.
Right. I think she was speaking, I guess, breaking the third wall. So she was then critiquing her perspective on women. Okay. She didn't like double down on calling them corny. She called them weird at first and realized that she was corny. I think she said I'm corny or something like that. She said like whatever her follow-up text inside the group chat was.
She had said she wasn't shit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean that's okay.
Yeah, and but a lot of people don't get to that second part though. A lot of people just be stuck, and I think that's sometimes you kind of manifest, what you get. If you call the guy who opened the door weird and corny, then you're probably never gonna get the guy that you're gonna end up in a situation that you don't want to be in because of just people manifest, and vice versa. It goes not just on women, but guys. I think guys do that a lot of time too. Is we glorify a lot of these negative characteristics in people, and like that those matter way more than actual like character and the things that really hold a relationship together. And so when you go after like the flashy stuff, a lot of time you end up with fool's gold. It looked like it was this, and it turned out to be just a regular rock.
Yeah, empty box with flashy and shiny wrapping paper.
So I think that happens on not just women. So I don't want to just put it on like one side. I think it happens on both sides.
Tone, I guess read the comment and then we can get into me.
This is from your mom. I don't know when this was. A boy playing with dolls and the girls playing with trucks don't make them one way or the other.
Fair.
I'm not buying my son no doll.
What if he point at it and be like, I want that?
Yeah, maybe next time. Just be that out
bro. You got in here?
Huh?
This Ajna you got in here, Q?
Is that who?
Ajna Sarah?
Oh, I'm not sure who she is, but go to what's her name? Goddess Ayana?
That's
go all the way to the right. Maybe we get into a fun spot right here.
I like her, yeah. She was fucking with the page at one point too.
What would provide more security for the institution of family for us? Polygyny? That means we sharing a husband, but all our kids got daddies. Or arranged marriages. We're picking the best suitors for our children and we're helping raise them so we know what type of husband or wife our child is going to get when they're older. Oh, and be respectful in the comments. Thank you. Another question for the family.
All right.
What would provide more security for the institution of family for us? Polygyny? That means. Another question for the family. What would provide more security for the institution of family for us? Polygyny? That means we sharing a husband, but all our kids got daddies. Or arranged marriages. We're picking the best suitors for our children and we're helping raise them so we know what type of husband or wife our child is going to get when they're older. Oh, and be respectful in the comments. Thank you.
First one, she said polygyny.
When she said polygyny, it threw me off. I was sitting there thinking
that's the all right. So you understand like being poly is like the broad like umbrella. And then like you define it out inside like the other terms with whether it's male, female, male, whatever the scenario is. So polygyny would be the version where it's a man and he has multiple wives. That's what it sounded like she was speaking about.
And she said everybody has daddies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, all the kids have daddies.
All the kids have daddies. And the question was which would be better for the family?
Mm-hmm.
I like the second one.
Yeah, I think arranged marriages would be a more stable place to build because to me personally, I think the whole idea of family was like designed like it's a business contract. It was designed to create dynasties and be able to pass wealth down throughout your lineage. And if you have a polygyny, whatever that is, that makes it way more complicated in passing down your all the stuff you built. Because if you have to split it up between 5 different separate sub families, each one of them not taking, each taking their own little pie, and there's no like uniform decision making or like principles on what's going to be done with it. Versus if it's an arranged marriage, or even if it's just a man and a woman, just like a what's it called, not matrimony, but when it's just 2 people. What's that?
Well.
A marriage?
Whatever, but yeah, just a regular marriage. It's way easier to pass your wealth down through your lineage.
Yeah, I be thinking that like the idea of having like two wives or any. I think that it sounds good, but I would want to see like if like to be able to see what the statistics would say for how many times those don't work out. Whereas like a marriage, like a divorce happens. Like I would say that is it sounds good. You know what I mean? I've heard people make arguments for it, but I'm pretty sure that oftentimes
but not
does
even
not
that,
work.
I'm willing to bet if a man can afford it, it works. Like
I don't know.
If he can afford it, I think it works. As long as all the women is happy, I think it'll work.
Yeah, but see, you can say as long as all of them are happy, but that's the harder part.
Think about this. Like when my grandmother died or when my grandfather died, and like we had to split their estate up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was complicated doing that amongst 6 children and grandchildren. And it was just 1 man, 1 woman, and it was 6 kids. If you got 6 kids and 4 wives, and then you got to add grandchildren, when that patriarch or matriarch of their family died and it comes time to split up the assets, it's going to be infinite. It's going to be that many times more complicated in how this wealth that this said person worked for is going to get split up. And I was doing a little research and heard a little podcast, but the whole reason for marriage in the first place was for you to be able to pass your wealth down. And if you're going to go into a marriage that's going to make it harder for you to pass your wealth down, what is the point of even getting into that business contract? So it's as good as it sounds to have 4 wives. And like it might be fun when you're doing it, like in real time, that shit might be lit. But then, like once you 70, 80 years old and you die and you got all this that you worked for your whole life, and they're fighting over how it gets split up, and then you look back and it's like, damn, was it really, or was all of that really worth it?
Yeah, what kind of you got to have some different, like the collective has to have a different level of like communication and a different level of like it just takes a lot more. Like we're just really trying to tap into like the communicative like conversation where you're talking about us trying to find a let's say this to get at the same place, trying to communicate to one another as far as men and women. Then you start adding multiple women or multiple men. Like I think that it's just like you said, it's getting messier and messier. Like we ain't there yet.
Yeah, y'all wrap that one up.
What did you think?
Yeah, where you at with it?
Y'all took the one that I'd have win again. I was hoping one of y'all had been like a red pill ball and like.
Oh, you like out know me.
This man act like.
Oh no, it could have been anybody. It's not specifically you. A lot of guys, especially younger age, is like, yeah, I love to have multiple wives. You only think about the sexual aspect to it.
Yeah.
And not as y'all went a lot of the mature versions, whether it's communication, you're talking about wealth, passing down wealth, and things like that. Those would have been the spaces that I'd have hit.
Those young boys ain't talking to no married men.
Yeah, and I don't have I don't have a strong enough argument for
you gotta
polygamy.
have more faith in us than that. You gonna throw up a little softy like that,
right?
Knock that one out the park.
Maybe. I guess the only way I do see it is if we're speaking inside the mindset of group economics. And I've heard that as well, where it's kind of like the sister wife thing, and it's a full village, and they're doing whatever. But I think it's just like just one, wait. You got to be a hell of a nigga.
Just wait.
You got to be a like it just is what it is. Like you got to be a hell of a nigga. And on top of that, it's just so much mess that can kind of happen. I would say let's go to another one. You see Shorty in the green, go right under her. I don't know what they're talking about here, but I feel like it probably is interesting.
With the crystal glasses.
You can't tell me to do less, but then again, you got girls that are buying into the fact that if I take her to Cheesecake on the first date, it's an issue, right? So it's like, okay, look, yeah, I did take you to Ocean Prime, but I really like Cheesecake. But you told me I had to bring you to Ocean Prime at first just to even speak to you to figure out if I like you.
I don't think those
I told you what I wanted, but if you can't do it, for me, it's...
I know Jada said she'll eat Applebee's.
I don't think women know what they want.
You have to set the standard of what you are dating for up front.
Yes.
If we just fucking around and having fun, then I'm gonna shoot you anything I want to shoot you to get what I want, which is some ass. I'm coming to the table.
Ass
I want
and
the
titties.
ass. That is what I
Watch
want.
that.
And I'm going to tell you everything.
You can't tell me to do less, but then again, you got girls that are buying into the fact that if I take her to Cheesecake on the first date, it's an issue,
like it's too
right? So it's like, okay, look, yeah, I did take you to Ocean Prime, but
yeah, I don't even think I have a good conversation for that one. That one was a dub. But actually, I think this might be a great time to introduce our guest, and I think that this might be a great time to get a female perspective on the date conversation, the Cheesecake date conversation. So who we have? If we have a season 2 veteran,
yes.
Charlotte's finest.
Yes.
She's again. I'll give a bit of the intro from the last season, where she's been on hands and controlling a lot of the Charlotte music scene. You talk about having distribution deals, did that. You know what I mean? Record labels did that. Producing major artists out of this area, did that. But she also is really well versed and articulate on a bunch of different topics. It is the lovely Miss Amy.
Yes. Woo! Yeah. Appreciate you stopping by again with us, Miss Amy.
Pass them headphones down.
Yes.
It's good. Am I good? Right?
Yep. Do you need us to readjust them?
No,
is that good?
That's good. Yes.
All right.
Yes. I need the headphones though, because I can't hear now.
Tone, pass it through the gap right there. Yep. Again, this is effort. We doing it live, so we doing it live.
We doing it live. Effort.
So here you go, Miss Amy.
I got him.
Help the boys out. Bro.
There we go. Okay. All right.
All right, can you hear?
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to take off on an airplane or something.
We locked and loaded.
Okay, so yeah, you heard a little bit of that, but I think this goes into like that general conversation. Are you familiar with like the whole cheesecake scenario in the first date?
Okay, so I might not be the right person for this because
here we go.
No, I'll be like, so I'm kind of different in that in my whole dating life,
Mhm.
I can think of maybe like 5 times that somebody else paid. Like I usually have been the one who's paid.
Oh damn.
Yeah, that is
It's
different.
a totally different. Yeah, okay.
And I'm super bougie. So when I go out to eat, I'm going to order what I want. I'm going to go where I want. And I'm going to throw my card on the table.
Uh-huh.
So, because I think it's tacky. I think, like, I went out with this guy one time and the bill came and he just let us sit there.
Oh.
And I was like, are we, like, I just didn't know what to say. And I finally just picked it up and paid for it. So, you know, I like when you were talking about people tipping, like I usually, when the bill comes, let me rephrase that. I don't even wait for the bill to come. When I'm done eating, I'll hand my card to the server and I always tip like minimum 25%. So,
that's a different type of time.
Yeah, so I may not
Yeah,
be
that's-
the right
yeah.
person,
Mhm.
but I do think that
So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
How do you vet? Like, if you're the person that, like you say, you throw the card down, you don't even give a man a chance. How do you, like, if a guy wants to take you out and he wants to go to like Apple or say he has?
What if he said he went like?
Well, no,
yeah, let's go to Cheesecake.
He got
What if he says that?
but like he got a but like I can spend this much. Like I've budgeted out like this much for dating, but I want to take you out, and then you go and you start ordering. You know,
I'm gonna pay for it because.
But do you hold that against the guy if you go above
I've
like
never
set aside joint?
I've never dated for money. I've never like even when I was. I mean, I'm obviously much older and I'm in a relationship now, but when I was younger, I never ever dated anybody for money. I dated for intelligence. So if you could entertain me, if you could have a conversation with me, if you weren't stupid, like I actually went out. This was years ago, but I went on a date with a guy who's a model, and that's one thing I will say for myself is I always pulled very good looking men. And I met this guy at a club. He was gorgeous, bodybuilder, model, Puerto Rican, beautiful, just stunning. Dumb as a box of rocks. Dated him twice.
Typical.
No, I couldn't because I couldn't have a conversation with him. He had a fast car, you know what I mean? Like all the things that other women thought were important. I didn't find those things important. For me, it's always been, can I have a conversation with you? Are you a challenge to me? And how much money you make is immaterial. I've never dated anybody. In fact, I'm trying to think of all of my serious relationships. I always made more money than the person I was with. So now that being said, I'll go to Cheesecake Factory. I'll go, like, you know, if you want to take me on a date, I'll go to McDonald's. Like if we're having conversation, I don't feel like you have to impress me with your money. And that's one of the things I had to talk a lot to my godsons about, because a lot of them said, oh, well, if I don't have this, that, or the other, I can't. And I'm like, well, then that's not the woman you want to date. Why would you want to date a woman who's only looking at your pockets?
And it's crazy you say that, because now that I think the generator, the kid, I would say around about between 16 and 18, I guess. I have a homeboy, he has 2 daughters, right? Okay. And he'll be on the show this season though. But yeah, he has 2 daughters, and what the daughters' experience is that the younger boys believe that they have to the younger boys believe that they have to show that they have money in order for these, let's say, because his daughters are pretty popular, you know what I mean? Like freshmen made the varsity cheerleading team, and you know what I mean, varsity track runner and all of this type of stuff. And the boys seem to think that they have to present themselves, or the one dude gave one of their daughters $100. It's like, he's trying. The young boys believe that they have to try so hard financially.
I gotta check QJ.
Hey,
cash.
Bro gonna have a long, hard date life. He already throwing the cash
tricking early.
Crazy.
He at what age?
And I'm talking about, this is high school.
Well, I think what it is too is, and I remember we touched on this when I was here last time, but you know, our society and music today is teaching men that they have to have big dicks that they can sling, money that they can throw, and that women have to have fat asses and be able to suck dick. And and I'm sorry for being crass, but if as a female you know your sex game is good, the men are gonna pay for it. That's prostitution,
right?
So you know, for me, if you know, that's one thing I raised my daughter is just turned 25, and I promise you, she is the same way. She will throw her card on the table because that's what I taught her. You are self-sufficient. You don't need a man. You know, if you come with a man, it should be on for other reasons, because you want to build together. And maybe you have the money today and he has the money tomorrow, but that should not be the criteria for you to have a relationship. Your emotional and intellectual connection should be far more important than it being a transaction. Because then otherwise you end up like Diddy and Cassie, right?
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
So
let me ask you this really quickly.
And that got really expensive for your boy.
Oh, nah, 8 figures. But I think that we're in a space. In a second, we're gonna go into your meme. But I think that this kind of like segues naturally into a bit of like an independent woman conversation and the benefits, like the plus minus of that. Because to an extent, what you're saying is that like you yourself have always been an autonomous, independent woman, and you've raised your daughter to be that. And for you, it's been kind of like you see it as a benefit per se. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm gonna toss it in the air for the.
Well, no,
for
I got
everybody.
a question.
Okay,
I got a question because, like, being a strong, independent woman, do you find that you guys attract or like strong, independent women? Do they attract weaker men?
No, I will answer this. I'm never been married. I had my daughter by intention, so I planned to have her as a single parent. She was not an accident; she was planned.
Did you plan it with the?
Yeah, basically this is the story. I decided I was going to have a baby, and every man I dated on the first date, I was like, "Hey, I just want you to know I'm not on birth control. So anything that happens, seriously, so anything that happens from this point
and I do
forward,
not believe in contraception.
And anything from this point forward is, you know, I'm prepared to handle. I'm not saying that you're expected to participate if you choose to, but enter at your own risk, literally.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
That's a crazy first date statement.
But the you know, reflectively now at 57, I find that a lot of men are intimidated. A lot of men are very intimidated. And I even had men tell me I was intimidating. And I dated a guy and he came to my house. And my house is 3,500 square feet. It's not, you know, it's not a Skybrook house. It's not a huge mansion house. It's a, you know.
No, 3,500 is enough. For sure.
But I mean, you've been to my house. My house is not super, it's not extravagant.
It's decent.
Yeah, but it's a nice house.
Definitely
a nice house.
Thank you. But he walked in and he was like, I've never been in a house this nice.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it didn't work out. My current relationship is with somebody who's considerably younger than me. Part of the reason why I think we get along is because those expectations that most people have don't exist for us, because there's just he's younger. So, you know, I would never expect that he be at my level from a career perspective or anything else. So he approached me being considerably younger with no intimidation. And I think that's what was attractive to me, is that he was not, from day one, he was not
Steph Curry, shooter's gonna shoot.
Yeah, and he pursued me for a considerable amount of time before I finally, you know, opened the door. But the main reason I did it is, one, he wasn't afraid of me, and two, as strong and as independent as I am, I'm very much a woman, and he stepped up as a man. So from our interaction with each other, he's the man in our relationship, even though I'm the primary breadwinner and everything else. Like and I think that that's what's important, is you have to meet your partner with where they're at. If you have a woman who wants to, you know, I had a friend who he was very subservient to his woman, but that's because he had the happy wife, happy life mentality, and she liked making the rules. So he was like, I want to be with her. She wants to run the house. I'm just going to sit back. And that worked for them. That was a dynamic that worked for them. And I think that, but I think that what happens with our society is we have, and this even goes back to what you guys were talking about kids, we have this definition of what a man is, and a definition of what a woman is, and a definition of what gay is. And, you know, I always say that your gender identification, your emotional connection, and your physical attraction are three separate things. It's the same thing with the dynamic in a relationship. You know, there's men out there who, in the privacy of their own home, are getting pegged. You know what I'm saying? So
I knew it was going into. I seen that build up. That was perfect.
But you know,
wow, peg boy.
But I mean, I just think that everybody has this like predefined idea of what masculine and feminine is. And I think as long as you meet the person who complements that for you, whether it's financial or not, then it's a success. I know I talk too much. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you get. I agree. I guess I got two questions. One, I'll first like to start with real.
Here we go.
So
here we go. What's up? What's up?
First date.
Yes.
Right. In this hypothetical, the lady said, "Well, lady takes it, puts her card down, and she says, I'm not on birth control. Rolling enough."
You said rolling or no?
Are you rolling or no?
And it's one of them good cards. It clink when it hit the table.
Yeah, heavy. It got weight to it, heavy.
Clink.
And it's dark skin. It's a dark skin card.
So y'all are
African American Express.
Y'all already know I'm like one of those guys that like the stand. You know what I mean? I'm a traditional.
Oh no, this is why I'm asking, because
traditional scope of things. So like I've always, like you were saying, I'm on the. I was like I've never allowed like a woman to pay for my thing. Mm-hmm. Like I've never had a woman pay. Women, I don't.
Do you feel like that emasculate you a little bit?
Say it again.
Do you feel like that would emasculate you a little bit?
And I don't see, to me that like that the emasculation. It's not even a term that like that wouldn't be something I would think about. It's more of I feel like this is just my role. It's not like it would emasculate me or not. It was not whether it's like it would emasculate me. This is just what I feel. This is what I do to be able to do.
So
like this is
no, I understand that.
Yes, like I'm a provider. Like my sounds. I mean, but we don't live a lifestyle like yours. But my wife, she's never worked. I take care of the family, the kids, all like that's the financial part. That's burden that's on me. I pretty much.
So
go ahead.
Let me ask you this: if, for whatever reason, she was in a position to make more money than you, would you believe that house cleaning and taking care of the kids is your way of providing?
What I would say is that like
this
I could understand like to flip
money.
it on its head. What it is that like. I wouldn't sign up for house cleaning to be my contribution to our relationship. So in my mind, I wouldn't mind her. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. So her making good money would not make me feel away. But at the end of the day, I'm not a housewife. I'm not a house husband. That's not what that's not what drives me. Like that's not my thing. I'm not the dude that, I just want to make sure and sweep under that's not me. So like I understand that some guys want to do those types of things, but my need is to create, to push the envelope further. You know what I mean? So that I'm not the guy that's gonna try and I don't want to, you know what I mean, sit in the house and just take care of the kids. Like, even though I love I think that's more valuable. I think that's more valuable. The taking care of the kids is more valuable than the money. I think that, but at the end of the day, I still don't think that that's the position that I want to be in.
Let me ask you this.
It's not conducive for my drive.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
So say wifey hit almost an Oprah lick. She up.
Okay.
Are you willing to become a house husband, even off the Oprah money?
You said Oprah lick. Yeah. I'm not a house husband. And the thing is, y'all keep these financial. See, the thing is, I'm consistent. I'm consistently not for sale. So you're not gonna be able to buy me with.
You just working.
It's not about how much money you have that'll make me change out of who I am. I'm not. Me as a person, I'm not going to change who I am because of $1.
No, I'm not asking you to. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I was going to say, it's not a matter of you changing who you are. It's a matter of what is best for your household. So if she's in a position to earn more money than you, but the only way she can do that is to leave the home. So if she leaves the home, somebody's going to have to be there.
And you just said that the raising the kids is the most important thing.
So it sounds like what we would do is we would have to figure out who's going to be in the home with them, which it wouldn't be, because I'm not going to stay at home. I'm not a homebody person. We're going to be paying someone because we make enough money. Because if I'm doing what I'm doing and then you making whatever you making, that sounds like we have more than enough money to be able to afford someone that will be that will have the value system that we would approve of to be able to step in and do these things while we are away earning.
But what if you step your toe when you can't earn?
If I can't earn, then I'll have to find. Really, it would just be something creative like what we're doing here. I would literally be able to sit.
So
I would have to do
it. You're not sweeping the floor for nothing.
No, I would. I mean,
you wouldn't raise them kids for nothing?
Not for like living. Not for as my contribution to the relationship won't be more of the nurturing. I'm just not as nurturing. That's not my strong suit.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's just not my strong suit. You can ask anybody in my family, like they know that, like if they need help, like I'll come help lift something. I can kind of try to, you know what I mean? I can help pay for something. But as far as like someone's sick and you need to come in and like change the diapers, that's not my strong suit. Well, it's just not my strong suit.
That's the hardest part.
I'm the dude that, you know what I mean?
Before we go on, I would like to ask Tone and Tone and Johnny. What about y'all?
Would I chill?
Yeah,
I definitely would.
You house husband?
Yeah,
big house husband energy.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, all right, Tone. Okay, house husband me. Listen, I'm chilling. What are you talking about?
I've told a lot of my
You see how he tried to act like he had to think for a second?
You were like, well, nah, yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I've told a number of my godsons that if you look at, especially the Black community, there's so many women who have gone to college and men have not, right? Men are like, I'm going to be a ball player, I'm going to be a rapper or whatever. And girls are out there going to college and becoming AKAs.
Hey, man,
right?
that's a fact.
So what I've said is how is it that you meet this woman? One of my godsons, he's got a career, he's got a house, and he's like, Miss Amy, I need to meet somebody who's on my level. And I said, well, what do you mean on your level? He's like, well, she got to have her own career and she got to have her own house. I said, well, then what house do you live in? I said, you know, you have to think about, you have these women and you love them because they're intelligent and they're dressing well, they got their clothes together, they got their shape together, whatever. But you expect them to quit everything they've done to birth your babies for you. And that's not fair.
Does it make sense?
So I think that there, you know, again, like I said, in my relationship, I'm working, I got myself together, whatever, but I defer to him as him being the man of the house, right? Even though he's not the person earning the money, he's not necessarily in the house either. Neither of us does that. But, you know, I think that that's something that, especially in today's society, that young men need to think about is, what are gender norms and why do I have to adhere to them? And so I feel like I have to pay for her dinner. Well, I don't have a college education, so I'm gonna go trap, or I'm gonna go steal, or I'm gonna go do, you know, I'm gonna scam, I'm gonna be running cards or whatever, right? And so you've got men out here doing illegal activity to have the bag to be able to secure the woman, right? Where meanwhile, if you go date a girl who went to college, a lot of these women will be like, I would love nothing else than to have the man stay home so I can keep my career. I'll birth these babies, but he's gonna have to be the one to take care of them.
I don't agree with that part, but I believe they may be out here, but I don't believe they're in abundance because there's plenty. They would have had plenty of dudes that would be willing to do that. It's a lot of them out here that don't want to do nothing and will sit and sweep and all that stuff.
They still want the ambitious dude. Like,
oh yeah, but what I was gonna say is that, and there's also a scenario in which where you would have women that are high earners, independent, and they'll be with the guy, and then but they in their minds they would like for him to earn more than enough, so that when they do have children, that they want to stay home. You know what I mean? There's that opposite as well. And then I see, like, you know, okay, if you're looking, it's gonna take a minute to get from what you did with your master's degree for him to do this out of him creating a business. Right. There's going to be a good bit of time to get there. So it's to have what do you want to call them? The expectations just are way too high. Some people just have expectations of individuals that just don't make sense.
I agree.
I think another important point we need to, when having these relationship conversations, is I like to look at shit on the bell curve. There's going to be like this 10% where the man earns way more than the women. On the other end, it's going to be this other 10% where the woman earns
you actually hit
way
this on
more
the fucking head
than the man. But for the average person, the 80% of it is going to be both parties are bringing roughly the same money to the table, and it makes sense to question these gender roles, not just because I don't want to do this or I don't want to do this, but it's
not applicable.
It's a partnership, and in this partnership, what can I do best to help make this partnership?
Or what can
best?
we do best to make it all work?
What can we do to best together? Not necessarily even what I can bring, but what can I give up, or what's something that I might feel like I'm strong at, but I might have to fall back on that. But even though I used to rest my hat on that, but if it makes more sense for me to put my hat somewhere else and let somebody else do that, we gotta have that. You gotta have a team, partnership mentality, not just the individualistic mentality when it comes to relationships.
I agree. I think that's a good bow on that meme. I guess we again, this is season 4, so there is a small request that we ask for all our upcoming guests, in which we ask them to send in a meme. Send in a meme or two to the page, and we like to react in real time and have a conversation based around this.
And our viewers as well.
I sent one that was not a meme, but the other one is a meme.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with the we're gonna start with the Andrew Tate. So we have Andrew Tate right here. Miss Amy has sent in one. We're gonna listen and we're gonna react.
I was in Gaza, if I was in an open air prison, if my family had been annihilated by bombs from the sky, if everybody I knew had suffered the loss of a loved one, if I had no chance of any kind of freedom or democracy or standard of life, would I believe it was an act of terror, or would I believe it's an act of resistance against oppression? I think I understand what happens when you take people and put them in such an inhumane condition. For anybody to sit and say that you're going to take people and put them in absolutely inhumane conditions and give them no standard of life, and they're not allowed to ever fight back, or they are.
I can agree with you that the plight of the Palestinians for many decades has been absolutely shameful.
So what are they supposed to do?
Nothing justifies it.
Yes. And it's unfortunately an eye for an eye in this world.
Tell me,
I'm not condoning. I'm being a professional and answering.
Give me one example.
However, if I was in Gaza.
All right, so I think the little context to this is he's responding to Piers Morgan asked him, "Do you condemn Hamas?"
Yeah.
Right.
And he made a statement that I thought was amazing.
Yeah.
In which to wrap that up, he said, "One person's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist," and that's one of the mic drops right there. Miss Amy, I'll let you kind of like toss it off to us.
So a couple of reasons I sent that to you. One is because I have not been a fan of Andrew Tate, and so when I reposted it, I was like, "Wow, I actually love Top G," because that's what he calls himself. And I've watched a lot of him, and I'm not going to say that I support him, because I still think there's some things that he does that's very problematic. However, I understand a lot better the things that he says that are problematic. And I think that a lot of times it's clickbait, and a lot of times, and I also think he's got a little different perspective, having spent time in jail and having his woman hold him down. You know, a lot of things he's had to say about women, I think he's clarified and said, as a millionaire, I want my woman to stay home. But he, so tie back to what we were just saying. But that being said, I love the fact of him speaking out, because he's a voice that people wouldn't expect to say all of that. And I think he also understands the historical aspect of everything that's happening. I think a lot of people do not know the history. We are in a society where if you say anything at all against anybody who is Jewish, you're anti-Semitic. People don't understand that there's a difference between Jewish religion and Jewish ethnicity. There is no Muslim ethnicity. There is no Christian ethnicity, but there is Jewish ethnicity. And the Israeli Zionists are not the same thing as somebody who is Jewish, who, from a religious perspective.
Yeah, and specifically critiquing Zionists is not a critique, and it shouldn't be seen as anti-Semitic, because of Zionism is based out of an atheist ideology. It just is what it is. You look at the founders of Zionism, most of those guys were atheists, and the whole idea is that God's not going to save us. We need a place to save ourselves. That's what it was kind of based around.
Well, and I was going to say, when I speak on religion, I just want to put a clarification. My mother was an ordained Presbyterian minister. When I was 7 years old, she went back to school and she got her undergrad in religious studies. So you got to figure that's 50 years ago. I'm 57. There was no internet, right? So my house was filled with books, concordances, Gnostic Gospels. She had to read and translate the Bible in Arabic, Hebrew, Greek, Latin, and English. So I had all of that. So my education on religion and history is really strong from her. And so understanding,
so I'm gonna get some interesting conversations a little bit later.
Well, the chosen people and what does the Bible actually say, and what is the difference between the Torah and the New Testament and the Quran? A lot of people don't understand the foundations of Islam and where it even came from and why it became a religion. And so, you have to understand all of those things before you can actually have an informed opinion. You can have an opinion, everybody's going to have an opinion, but having an educated and informed opinion to be able to state something I think is different. And that's one of the things I liked about the meme is that, you know, I really thought that Andrew Tate was a Neanderthal. Like I really didn't think, I, you know, again, clickbait, but the snippets that I had seen of him initially, I was unimpressed. And the more I've watched him and hearing him talk about this from a very educated perspective, I was very impressed with that. I mean, I can, like, you know, you let me know how much you want me to get into all of the stuff I know.
I thought it Johnny. Johnny probably gonna have
because I think one thing when we're talking about this, because people bring up it's Israeli Palestinian conflict. It has nothing to do with religion.
No.
Religion is a backdrop that they use to market it and to get people on one side or the another, just like the word terrorist. They don't ever use the word terrorist unless it's somebody who's from the Islamic faith.
Yeah.
And so terrorists in today's world, because there's a bunch of different terror people who were like terrorists, but the news, they only talk about is Islamic people when they use the word terrorist, jihad. You hear that.
There's Christian and Jewish Palestinians.
Yeah. People don't ever talk about them.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about this, I think you said, you know, something important. The Jewish people, this war isn't against Jewish people.
No.
It's against the Israeli people who are occupying what used to be Palestine. So, like Hamas, they're not against Jewish people in the world. They don't care about Jewish people in America. They don't care what you do over here. They don't care about the Jewish people in Europe. Their only issue is with the
Israelis
Jewish people
and the settlers,
and the Israeli people who have occupied and settled in their land when 80 years ago they were 20% of the population.
Well, and it was
in that area. They weren't the majority. So they've came, and when people talk about Hamas, like he said, it's a response. And I think people and that's why I'm glad he said it, because like you said, he's somebody that wouldn't normally say it. A lot of his
the conservatives are in a frenzy right now because of like conservatives naturally. Yeah, if you watch the so naturally red pill leans right and right is Republican, and Republicans, if you looked at their last debate, they all like going on like some almost like warmongering type shit when it comes down to what Israelis should do with Palestine, like bomb them, flatten the land. I looked at it and I was like, this shit sound crazy. Like they almost like don't look at Palestinians as people in the way that they speak about what Israelis should the Israelis should do. And to me, like it's crazy. But Andrew Tate, over the past 2-3 years, so many of his followers also fall into that rank of people.
Yeah.
Like the Trumpers, the red pillars, the Andrew Tate guy. It's a big little group that are very, very similar people. But he's saying the exact opposite of what, say, the establishment of that group is saying.
Well, and what's going to be very interesting is the election, because you've got the Democratic Party is who is funding this war. Joe Biden has signed, they're signing off on all of this, and it's, the nuances of this whole thing is insane. If you go back, the reason why this even happened was because at the end of World War II, they punished the Ottoman Empire. Basically.
The British mandate. They left.
Exactly.
Israel came in,
and then they said, well, they need, we feel guilty about the Holocaust, so we're going to give them this land. But the thing is you had to have money to go be there. You had, and so it was none of the people that went there were indigenous. What's interesting is if you look at the foundation of the United States, how did we start? It was a revolution. So were the colonists terrorists? Were now granted, we didn't go invade England, right? But it was still, we belonged to England and we fought against it. That's our huge foundation story. We celebrated every 4th of July. Yay us. But then we turned around and wiped out all the indigenous people.
But I guess,
I think that's historically everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like people, it's like bullies get bullied.
I didn't really think about this, but in the perspective that you just put it, it almost might be like the perfect American cop-out, because of we just passed Thanksgiving, and we understand, like, if you also put it inside the context of there were natives here already, and we came here and just said, "Oh, fuck it, this is our land."
Oh yeah, we discovered it,
and we colonized it, and that's kind of like the exact example of what Israelis are doing to Palestine. So like there is one space where we could be seen as like quote unquote the classic Palestinians, but there is a big spot where we are the oppressor of the land that we sit in. And truthfully,
some of us
it also I mean it almost
the whole time people said we, I was like, yeah,
some of us are Palestinians.
You say some. All right, all right. So Johnny, are you all right, Johnny?
I was thinking the same thing.
Let me catch up real quick.
I was there.
So Johnny, real quick, are you an American?
Yeah.
All right,
I'm a Black American.
Fuck you talking
I'm an African American.
All right, so what are you talking about?
All
right. So what are you talking about?
They put a word in front of my American.
But you have a United States passport.
Right. Like
Johnny, they put a word in front of my.
All right, my bad. Sometimes I be forgetting.
I'm with you, bro. Again,
what Johnny tends to do is that depending on the week is gonna be like which stance he's gonna stand on real hard. Usually
he's multifaceted, bro.
Yeah, usually he's not Black and he's not an African American. He's just American.
Man of sorts.
But today he's a whatchamacallit.
He's an individual.
Yeah, today he's Black. That's what it is. Whatever works in the argument. All right. I don't know. I guess do you have any closing points on that to kind of wrap it up?
No, I was just going to talk about all the history and all the other stuff, but I mean, it sounds like you guys know, so I don't have to educate you by any means. But I just think that I'm agnostic, atheist, whatever. I went through a course of.
I don't want you to get there yet. We're about to lead to a conversation that's going to kind of get us into an interesting space. Yeah, Tone, you can go to either one of them. I think that this one that first one would be a good one to branch off of that. So last week, I guess to give a little bit of backdrop for the audience before you push play, we did have a conversation about spirituality versus religion versus religious, and the differences between those 2, 3, or 4. And I did want to. I think it's a good, healthy conversation. I think Real made a statement last week in which I agreed with, and I think that these conversations help to that. Where a lot of times, a lot of people haven't thought all the way through even what they believe. And what they base a lot of their understanding of. And I don't know, that season 4, I think is an interesting little pocket. So Tone, I say push play.
I was the guy that would make fun of Christians, scoff at them, argue with them, challenge them. If God is real, why is this? If God is real, why is
Hey, my beautiful pretty girl.
I went from being an atheist
I don't know what
to being agnostic. I was the guy that would make fun of Christians, scoff at them, argue with them, challenge them. If God is real, why is this? If God is real, why is that? Right? I used to be the one, what else I used to do? Whenever I would see Christians sinning, I used to think, you Christian, but why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? I used to get enjoyment seeing Christians act out of the will of God. So whenever I see Christians curse and listening to secular music, I'm like, yeah, like pumping them up and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then I found God, right? I found God. And they want you to think God is the universe, where you can find God through shrooms, the psychedelics, when I went through my spiritual warfare, only thing that could bring me out was Christ. That's it. Jesus. And as I began to wake up, I started to realize, man, I'm like, man, those Christians that I was mocking and laughing at, I'm like, I get what they were saying. I'm like, I get it. I understand. I went from being an atheist.
Oh, you all don't want me on.
All right. I guess I don't know. I think it's a lot of interesting spaces that we can go to with this. I'll toss it in there. Whoever want to grab it first.
I love the video.
Okay.
You go first, but I loved it.
Okay. Again, let's clarify. I'm 57 and I was raised in the church. So I did the exact opposite direction of him. I started off a Christian. I grew up going to church, 4 days a week. We was in choir. We was in, my parents were the youth group leaders. I was in Young Life. I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior when I was 7. I was down. I was 100% down. And when I was 22, I think 22, 24, something like that, I met a guy, of course, romantic relationship. He was a Sunni Muslim. He wasn't nation. And I was in love and I stopped eating pork, still don't eat pork. And I said to my mother, again, ordained Presbyterian minister, and I said, I'm thinking of converting to Islam. How would you feel about that? Would you be okay with that? And she said, yeah. She said, great. She's like, here's a Quran. And I said, really? And she said, let me tell you something. With all my education and everything I've done, she said, I believe God, in whatever form you choose to believe in him or her, speaks to everyone in a voice that they can understand. That voice may be the prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him. That may be Jesus Christ. That may be the wind in the trees. As long as you hear that voice and respond to it, that's all you need. And that completely, gave me freedom to explore, which I studied the Quran, I studied Hinduism, I studied Buddhism, I did, shrooms, whatever. I did all of
you
these
did the ayahuasca?
I have not done it. I was going to though. I have
peyote. Is that
I haven't done peyote, but I'm going to do ayahuasca actually. But what I ended up coming to the conclusion of is, one, I do not believe in God as a corporal person. I do believe Jesus walked this earth and said the things that he said. But I do not believe that I need to have somebody else as my savior. I believe that I am responsible for my own behavior. And as long as I walk in love, live in love, and operate in love, then I am meeting what I need to meet. And I believe that God is bigger than we could. There's so much that like I know that I don't know now. I used to say, I know Jesus is the way, God is the way.
So do you sit agnostic or atheist?
I don't know the difference, honestly. I think one means
I
that
think
you don't
agnostic
believe in anything.
is not religious.
That's not what I mean. Agnostic is more so that you question the belief of God. Atheist is pretty much that you don't believe in that there is an existence of a God.
So this is what I would probably, given those definitions, I'd probably say more atheist.
Okay.
I believe that there is something greater than us.
Mm-hmm.
But is that aliens? Is that what I do 100% believe in energy because I've seen it proven. Mm-hmm. And I believe that we are limited by our senses. So this is the example I always use. I can pull my phone out right now. I sent you that meme, right? And it's now on that screen.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take for that to happen? Less than a fraction of a second. However, that image came out of your phone, floated through the air, went to the T-Mobile tower, went through the T-Mobile system, went up to a satellite. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that means that there is things happening around us that we don't see.
We can't,
right?
We don't perceive everything.
So I believe that we are energy and our spirit is energy. And when our spirit leaves our body, it is now free to travel. Right?
Energy isn't created or destroyed. It's only can be transferred.
Right. Heaven could be Mars. Heaven could be another galaxy. We don't, because once you are free of the corporal body, you can travel as fast as you want, as evidenced by how fast those means travel, right? Because they're energy. So that means that we can travel. So is there a heaven that is clouds with a man that's got long flowy hair that's sitting over a keyboard that says you get to have cancer and you get to have $1 million? I don't believe that.
Oh, he definitely if I know anything about this world, I definitely know he ain't blonde hair, blue eyes. Like if I know anything about
flowy hair for
sure. But I don't think that he is a him.
Or it could be a she. Like it might not even be like a person.
It's
to me,
something greater. That's what I believe.
And to me, my relationship with it was like, you can know how to have a conversation. You can know how to communicate. We've talked about communication styles and all of that. To me, that's what spirituality is. It's just communication. But then each religion, you can break it down. And then each religion is like how you understand and relate to communication is through the language that you've learned. So just like I grew up Christian, I grew up speaking English, and that's how I related to communication. Doesn't mean that people speaking Spanish or people speaking another language aren't communicating in the same way.
Hey Johnny, real quick before you go too far, just so I can understand what you're saying, what do you mean by communication? Because I'm kind of lost on like that part.
Well,
you said spirituality is communication. So I want to follow you, but I just want you to break that down.
I think religion is like language. So like Christianity could be English, Islam could be Spanish, and like the way you relate to your relationship with God is through your said religion. That doesn't mean that's the only right way to do it. That's not the only way to talk. There's other languages out there. There's other religions out there. Just because I grew up speaking this language or knowing this religion doesn't mean that I can't learn other ways, and that other ways might not fit me better. And so that's how I look at, and like that's my metaphor when it comes to spirituality versus religion. It's like language versus talking, because there's tons of different ways you can talk, especially nowadays.
My primary issue with Christianity having come out of it is this perception that people have. And I think that there are people who are true believers who live the life that they are supposed to live. But I think that especially in America, Christianity has become a rod to beat people. And I think that people will say, you have to be saved. Why do I have to be saved for you? If you've accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior and you are saved, then you get to go to heaven because you checked that box that needed to be checked. Why are you worried about what I'm doing? Why are you worried about if I have an abortion? Why are you worried about if I'm gay? Why are you worrying about, and I could just go deep into scripture and where scripture is and how people take scripture and twist it, how people take Leviticus and will take two things out of Leviticus, but then we'll get tattoos and we'll, like there's so many rules in the Bible, you know what I'm saying?
The same is true with Islam too, though.
But the same is the thing. It's crazy that we're having this conversation. The same is true with everything. The same is true with people saying that we're not doing the traditional thing, we're doing the modern thing. The same is true with each of the religions. The same is true with everything. What we do is we take what we like out of things and we move them forward, and we leave behind the things that we don't like about said thing. We're doing that with everything. Everything.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then also, and so people also like to, as we all know, and we talk about this on the show all the time, dodge accountability. We hate to be held accountable. Accountability makes us defensive. So
I think that's why. My bad. I'm good.
And so it's in like I said, we talked about where I land on it, and I don't even think, to me, where I land on it is less important than the conversation itself.
The fact, because everybody gonna have an
right.
opinion.
It's your personal relationship,
right?
And as you say, if this is if this is working for you, then I have no need to try to come up to force you to explain to me. I don't have to understand. Your walk is your walk, and it's not meant for me to understand your walk. And
yeah,
go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh no, all right. So last week, it's two things I want to do, but last week I used the term existential nihilism. Mm-hmm. But that's what you're defining right there. It's pretty much the idea that whatever you believe in your belief system is what is real to you. And whether you believe or you don't. I know that's where I specifically said that. Is mm-hmm. that I like, so if you know what I mean, like if you're purely Christian and that leads you to a better life and you believe in the afterlife, like who am I to tell you that that's not what's real? So I agree with that. You also just hit on a point, and my question last week mm-hmm. dealt specifically with that. Right. And that was accountability. And the idea of Tone, he ended up saying it, so I didn't really like unpack it to explicitly say that. But it's the idea that I think in today's time, to be honest, most people are saying that they're spiritual so that they have to dodge the accountability of actually living up to the word. Or I think maybe Tone said righteous. But I think that's like the catch-22. So a lot of times niggas be like, no, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Because even though everything that they say and they do are based off of a book, And that would kind of mean that you're religious, but they don't want the accountability that comes with it. And that was kind of like my whole, like, that was the thing that I was doing.
They want to have to live by that book. You done read and you quoting that book.
That's the comfortable thing.
I also like to say though, it's like it's kind of a double-edged sword, because like people who are actually reading the Bible, like for instance, like if somebody's reading the Bible, they're gonna have a different understanding than somebody who's just learning some stuff from somebody telling them what it says. So what ends up happening is like you have different meanings that some people understand or whatever. If that makes sense, I'm trying to figure out how exactly.
You also have to, again, understand the history. So this is one of the things that my mother explained to me. If you understand the history of the Christian Bible and the history of Islam, it will change your perspective. The Bible was not written by God. The Bible was compiled by the Emperor Constantine. So the Roman emperor, he said, all these Christians are rising up. I got to do something. I'm going to merge my pagan beliefs with this Christian business. And I'll take the books that I want and create this Bible. And then take that. There was no copy machines. There was no copy paste. So people were writing stuff, copying. So you can change words.
This is the square off that I was waiting for. Here you go.
The only thing
Go ahead,
about
Tom.
that, though, is we have enough evidence to prove that that's not true. Like Constantine did change stuff, but they found the Dead Sea Scrolls since then, which is copies of the Bible that was hidden pre-Constantine and all of that stuff. The Dead Sea Scrolls in the Hebrew language, or I forgot whether it was in Hebrew or Arabic, but the language is the same. The Bible still says the same thing. Because this is one of the things that used to hold me up. Like I used to not believe in the Bible. Like I didn't just come to this conclusion. Like I used to not believe in the Bible. So what ended up happening was I had to get to a point where it was like I was studying all of this stuff. Like I actually went on a study where I was trying to disprove Jesus, and I ended up finding out more. Like I
would never disprove Jesus. I believe Jesus walked the earth. Absolutely. My point is that not only did I read the Bible cover to cover, I read the Quran cover to cover, I read the Gnostic Gospels. Like I'm telling you, I've read and done all of this research. And what I have come to the conclusion of is, if you look at Christianity, this is the thing about Islam. What Jesus said, if you just look at the 4 Gospels and then you expand it, because a lot of Christian religion is based on the word of Paul, the teachings of Paul, Corinthians, Romans, all these other books that happened after. But if you just look at the 4 Gospels of Jesus, right? He says there's only one God. He says don't worship graven images. What do Christians do? Wear crosses. What do Christians do? Have crucifixes up in there. So if you look at Islam, and again, you have to also understand what was happening in the time, right? So
that's the important part right there.
Right, what was happening in the time and the knowledge that people had. So religion is based on 2 things: lack of education and knowledge. You didn't understand that pork had trichinosis, so but you knew if you ate pork you died, right? So you stopped eating pork. So you have the other thing too is that there's a fear of death. No, there's nobody, and people will say that Jesus came back from the dead. Okay, we can say maybe he did, but nobody has died and come back and been like, it happens like this, it goes like this, and this is what happens. We have a fear of death. So what better way to assuage that fear than to believe that you're going to see your loved ones, to believe you're going to reconnect with people, to believe you're going to have a better
or what
life.
better way to control people is to use that fear.
Exactly.
I get it. I gotta before you go, Tom, really quickly. So I like to get the reaction of this quote. This is a quote that was sent when I kind of brought up the conversation about morals and if it was religious based. And the quote said, "Religion is a man-made answer to the fear of death, coupled with a need to understand an origin story."
Yep, I agree with that 100%.
Okay, so one of the things that gets me is that people who don't believe in God are always trying to tell people why they believe in God. Like, none of that is why I believe in God. I'm not looking, like, that's not why I'm following this belief. It's not about me going to heaven or believing in some sky daddy or
then what does it do for you? What does believing in God do for you?
Okay, so one of the things is in the Bible, it says be a doer of the word and not just a hearer. So you keep talking about how you studied all of this stuff, and that's what a lot of people do. They just study this stuff, but they don't actually do it, so they never gain an actual true understanding. Like what the Bible talks about is a spiritual relationship with the actual creator of the universe. And I can't say that if you actually are developing that spiritual relationship, actually reaching out to communicate that God ain't gonna answer. That's the main thing I believed in the first place that got me onto the road that I was on. It's never been about me trying to do something to get to heaven, or I'm not. And on top of that, I'm not scared of death. I'm not worried. Like when I die, I die. I'm not afraid of death. Like that's something. I'm not. That's the whole thing. When my time comes, like literally, I just lost a friend this week, and that's still how I feel about it. Like he wasn't afraid of death. He was somebody who really was heavy on it.
So let me ask you. I want to ask a question.
I don't even know what that means.
I want to ask a question.
Not being afraid of death.
Yeah, I'm scared. I don't want to die.
I'm scared.
I am terrified of death.
Scared
I
of death.
I would like to live my life as long as I can possibly.
Always
I
will
want
be.
to ask a question. I need to ask a question.
Why? Because
it's the unknown.
No, that's not even why I'm.
Because unknown. We don't know what's gonna happen in life.
That's cool. I want to answer your question. I'm scared of death because of right now, and I'm living. And I mean, like, to me, I think that what I'm doing right now is as valuable as I am certain can happen. And it's no reason for me to be in a rush to end this. And there's whether we want to go the responsibility route or just the general idea of my life ending, like the period being there. Like to me,
is fearing death. Like,
say it again.
Treasuring your life is not the same as fearing
you say
death.
fearing my life.
Treasuring your life is not the same as fearing.
But okay, I got you.
Hold on, I have a question.
I guess this is semantics.
You said that all of the studying that I've done does not mean that I'm living the life that, like, you're saying that your belief in God is what is your communication with the higher. I can believe in manifestation. People call it wishes. People call it prayer. People call it meditation. I call it manifestation. I can do good works for people. If anybody knows me, and you know me pretty well, I live a life of charity. I pay for people. People call up. I need money for rent. I need a place to live. My charitable donations and my good works, and I live in love at all times. I live the life that I believe I am supposed to live. Some people might call it being godly. I choose that God is not big enough for what I believe the universe is. I believe there is so much that is unknown. I believe that there is so much that you look at the stars in the sky. Every one of those stars is a sun. There's the galaxy and our existence on this earth. We are so small. It's like Horton Hears a Who, right? We're tiny. We're so small. So I believe that I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and tell you there is no God or there is a God. I'm not going to tell you that. I just know that I don't need Jesus to be saved. I can be saved on my own. I don't need to make a declarative statement that says Jesus is my Lord and Savior and not live that life. And I think that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people will sit there and say that they are Christians, that they are whatever, and don't, like the meme was, they don't live that life. I live that life, but I don't need God to save me. I don't need Jesus to save me. I don't need them to be a good person.
Yeah,
I can be
agree.
a good person without having that.
I agree. What was one crazy thing? Not crazy thing. I wanted to understand a little bit more on. You said that God was, and I think it may be, just in my mind, it may be a limitation that we set in our own minds of what let's say God looks like. As you said, it was almost like you were saying God was too small to have created the galaxies.
No, I think that our idea of God is too small. I think that we call God, most people believe that God is a person I can talk to. It's a him. It's a him. It's a singular body. And it is all knowing, all seeing, and all deciding. And everything that happens to us is because it's what God's will is for us. And so, God willed me to have money, but didn't will me to have a husband. God willed him to have a daughter, but didn't will him to,
have twins.
BJ. Exactly. That God willed, my mother to have a condition that ended her life when she was in her 60s. God, I don't believe that. I do not believe that there is an entity that is sitting looking at every one of us as individuals and saying, you get to win the lottery and you get to have cancer. And 8,000 Palestinian children are going to be buried in rubble.
And I think that these are limitations that we've actually, I think over time, and I think that if we don't kind of come to a different understanding at some point, then we'll continue to make the idea of a creator smaller and smaller. Right. When you make the creator when we put him into a human body, then that, or him, when you say him,
right,
you know what I mean? Now you're giving him human characteristics, which is male and female.
Yep.
So then we continuously would try to give to provide lower ceilings.
I think
and the way I think of the creator,
image. I think it's in his own image. You know, people take little snippets out of the Bible and run with it. God made us in His own image. So I think that in and of itself has made men feel like they own the world, and you know, because I promise you, all these wars that are happening and all this money grabs that are land grabs, it's all men. Women wouldn't be doing all this.
I got one thing. And I think it's an important distinction when we're talking about like.
And then let's go to tone, and then kind of.
Yeah, we'll do that. But my distinction, like we're talking about, like saying God's the creator, it makes him too small. But I think one thing people like on this.
That ain't what I said. But go ahead.
Or did you? Well, not. But we're talking about like lowering the standard of what the creator is. And all of that. But I think one thing we do have to acknowledge when we're talking about like a God, or not a him or a her or anything, because him and her, that's worldly things.
Right.
That can only be like viewed through the lens of being a human.
Right.
But like if God is the true
expressed through English
or whatever language, because it's a human.
I get you. Like what we're doing. Like there's a finite amount of words to express.
That's what we're doing. But
extraordinary thing.
But if we're talking about a creator who truly created all of this, not just the world, but the whole universe and everything in there. There's so much about what he has created that we don't even know, to where we can't just judge what this thing is based on what he created here and what we can perceive and what we can take in and analyze, because it's so much bigger than us and even our understanding of this. So when we talk, like when people talk about creators, I think we do have to make that distinction between, if we're talking about a creator, there's what we don't know pales in comparison to what we do know.
And that's what I go with. I've come after all of my circling around and going to different churches and talking to different people and all that. I've come to the conclusion of I don't know what I don't know.
And
what's hilarious is if you
nothing.
You know, we take so many things at surface value and for granted, don't even think about it. Imagine, just think about your body, right? Think about your body right now. Your body creates tears, mucus, saliva, semen, blood, urine, feces, fungus. You know what I'm saying? Like and then for women, we produce breast milk, we produce all of this stuff.
Babies.
Right. How does that happen? Like you can sit there and go from a medical perspective, there's the pineal gland and there's hormones and everything, but how did that all get put together? And then you look at, you know, a lot of Christians will say that they don't believe in evolution, but then you look at all of the mammals have the same stuff. They have 2 eyes, they have ears, they have, you know what I'm saying? Like there's various difference. A platypus is not the same thing as another rodent, but you have, you know, if you start really like thinking about that stuff, it's going to blow you. It starts to blow your mind. Go ahead.
Oh no, that was yeah.
You're on camera. Everybody
they couldn't see this hand.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But all right, so I guess what I was trying to get the attention of him, I wanted to see if he wanted to wrap up with the statement or if he was good.
I actually had a question a couple of times. I wish I would have let me ask as it was going along. But my question is, like, and you really just alluded to what I was going to ask. Looking at the body, seeing everything that goes on and how it operates, do you think that was like, who do you think created that?
I don't. That's the thing.
It's not a who though. See, I think that we don't when you say who. Right. See, that goes back to like the idea of him and her.
Are we getting into a Big Bang conversation?
The limitation thing.
We're getting into semantics here, and I'm just saying this in order to explain it, because like I'm not gonna sit here like he, she, like we talking about Transformers. Like if you get what I'm saying.
I don't think
that was somewhere where a joke was there.
We support all Transformers, Bumblebee,
Autobots. But so how about this, Tone? I think that let's leave that as an open-ended question, and that's something that next week, again, to me, I don't mind, you know, like having some of these conversations. I think that this was a really good and healthy conversation in which everybody kind of was able to kind of pick brains. It seemed like we probably got like 5 different belief systems. You said what?
I don't really think I got my point across here.
Oh no! All right, so understand what I'm saying.
We got to unpack more. It's a
Right, understand what I'm saying. I said I think that there's 5 people in this panel, and there's 5 separate belief systems that exist here, in which everybody was able to, without judgment, express a little bit of what they feel and what they believe, in which, again, like these lead to better and more open conversations later.
I just want to say one thing.
Yep.
The one difference that I think that for me, that I try very hard, is I do not want nor ever try to have anybody believe what I believe. I've come to where I am over a long period of time and over a long period of reflection and a long period of experimentation. And what I've come to is I don't know. And therefore, since I don't know, I can't tell you what to know. And I can't tell you what to know. I can't tell you what to know. I have to let you all, you all have to come to that on your own.
No, because we keep saying before, and I just want to ask you a question, like, before I forget it. So what I do want to know is, like you was just saying, like, that you don't try to put your beliefs on other people. And I understand it, because that's kind of how I look at stuff too. But one of the things you were saying earlier was like how Christians are trying to force their beliefs on people, and I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, I'll clarify.
If they're coming from a place of, because I think that's what happens a lot. Like, people take stuff offensive. They're offended if somebody tries to present a belief that they try to present their beliefs and they're trying to get you to believe it. I think that's natural if somebody cares about you in any type of way and they believe like, hey, this is the way to salvation, that they would be trying to.
But Christianity is an oppressive religion. Like that, throughout the history of the world, it's been an oppressive religion.
That's not the point I'm saying. The point I'm making to you is somebody like me. If I come to you and I'm trying to present Jesus to you, I'm not trying to oppress you, Quintel.
No, of course, not specifically.
You know what I'm saying?
See the thing.
Oh no, he dropped it. No, but all right. So, but do you understand how, like?
But this is
I didn't even know.
I get it. I want to answer him. Real quick. So I think that there's a difference between talking in specifics and talking in generals. So, like, in general, what we're talking about is Christianity in general, not how you specifically do it.
I was asking a question.
All right,
specific. I was saying, if there are people who are coming to you, there are people who take that as offensive to when somebody comes up to them. Most of the time, if somebody's coming up to you and they're trying to tell you about this belief, they're not coming from a place of, I'm trying to oppress you, I'm trying to offend you.
It's a benevolent thing, is what
it's not even that. They're coming from a place of they actually care about your soul. Like, that's how they think.
Right, okay, but also, because I do want to jump in, because again, like, this would be probably like the majority of the perspective that I've walked, where I grew up Muslim. Like, I'm not specifically Muslim now, so I've always been the minority, right? In which I've always been presented with the idea of, like, if you're not Christian, you're going to hell. That's not, like, maybe there's goodwill in like the thought of saying that it's going to convince, but that is still a bit of to an extent, it's almost a threat. And like that's the tactic that's being used to convince.
So,
in which, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say 2 things. One, it's just like we're talking about Zionism and Israelis versus Jews. Christianity has got 2 levels, right? Our society of we are a Christian nation. We are a Christian nation. All of these rules are around Christian. That's not Christianity. Individual people who declare themselves as Christian, I don't have a problem with Christians. I have a problem with Christianity, right? So that's one. But number 2, what you just said about you sharing the word because you care about somebody's salvation, that's my whole point. What is salvation? Why do we need salvation? There's no salvation. If you don't,
and your version of salvation.
For me, I don't believe in heaven or hell. I don't believe that there's a heaven, and I don't believe that there's a hell. So there's no salvation for me, because that would mean I would be going to heaven. Well, if I don't believe in heaven, then I don't need salvation. I need to live the life that is, I am doing the best that I can to take care of the people I love, I'm against war, I'm against death, I'm against stealing, I'm against all of the 10 commandments, all of the rules, I'm against all of those things. Do I think you should have autonomy and be able to get a tattoo? Yes. Do I think you should be able to eat pork or shrimp if you want to? Yes. But I don't believe that any one thing dooms you to hell or elevates you to heaven, because you'd have to believe in those 2 things. I don't. So for me, it's, am I living my life today as I feel in my heart I should? Yes. As long as and I instantly know if I'm doing something wrong. If I'm gossiping, if I say something hurtful, I instantly know that that's wrong. And I repent to myself. I don't have to repent to an imaginary person who I've never seen or met. So that's what I'm saying, is that you know, you have to take, if you believe in salvation, then you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're going to want to have somebody else be saved. But if that person doesn't need to be saved, then you don't need to share that. And honestly, you know,
that then becomes pushing your beliefs.
Yeah.
I think, hey, look, that was a
Hey, not getting the last word doesn't mean you lost.
Yeah.
This will be a continuous
everybody just
conversation.
Oh yeah, that's why I tried to leave it open. I tried to leave it open.
No, you good.
No. We enjoy. Listen, this has actually been a mild conversation. We turn up in here. So,
we gonna cut it.
You more than good.
We gonna cut it right there. You know, I'll go ahead and I'll land the plane. That was a long flight. That was like one of them 18-hour joints.
Y'all shouldn't have me on.
But we gonna land it because we actually got some pretty good questions that we could.
Now we're getting into the conversations.
No, we ain't even got to the good shit yet. Yeah, the good shit coming. So, how you guys want to?
We rock paper scissors or we
proceed? Yeah, let's rock paper scissors again. I'm trying to go 2-0.
Nah, we rolling.
We
all
good.
right, let's get to it, fellas. All right, I'm up out of there.
2-0 today, baby.
2-0. That was a great. This is a great day for you.
2-0. That's what I'm talking about.
I ain't mad at you.
How we gonna do this? How we gonna do this? I already know your question trash, so we go.
I changed it already.
We gonna make him go last.
Okay,
that's fine. I don't mind.
I'll let Q go first.
Okay,
I'm gonna go second cause I think where we was at, I let him go.
Hey, you supposed to go first on this one, Juice.
All right.
I want to hold it.
You're supposed to go first on this one.
I want to hold it.
We
done. Hey, look, if we got any more memes, we'll come back to them next week.
I like the headphones. I'm gonna let y'all niggas take them off.
I'm not taking mine off.
I'm taking mine off.
I kind of like having the headphones.
I'm taking mine off because it's messing up my hair, dude.
I kind of like that. I like the headphones, bro.
Yeah, I'm cool.
All right. So my question for the week is this, and I think we'll probably get into some good conversations. I think we have some independents. We have some people that lean left, some people that lean right in the room, and
I lean on Tone's mom.
Whatever. And the question is,
properly placed. Go ahead.
Children, they're being children right now.
That's what's happening.
It's only okay when he do it. I can get my children, my child's play in every.
I'm just trying to wait for the right place where, like, when the edit gonna start, and it's not like these niggas laughing in the background. Kids, they on the swing set right now.
What is the question?
All right, so here we go. All right, so my question is it possible to have more than a two-party system in America? Is a two-party system the best version of a possible democracy?
Can I go? Can I go?
That's the question.
Can I go first?
Johnny, what you got?
Can I go first? Is it possible? The more time goes, the less and less I think it's possible. Is a two-party system the best version of democracy? Absolutely not. I don't agree with that because we got 300 million people in this country. To pigeonhole all 300 million of us into two categories and say if you believe in this, you flaw. If you believe in that, you flaw. It's almost insane to think about like how diverse of a country we are and how we pride ourselves on diversity. Motherfuckers talk about diversity in America, but then you look at our politics and it's black or white, red or blue, right or left, and that's almost insane to like because if you look at other systems of government, like especially more modern systems, this country.
So what are some of the democratic republics that don't subscribe to a two-party system that doesn't end up being a two-party system?
Or you could look at from England to Switzerland to most of the countries in Africa don't have two-party.
So I'll use this and I'll give you a little bit of like some of the thought that came through it. So we look at, let's just say Israeli. And what is it? The prime minister, who person is running it?
Netanyahu.
Right.
It's like
a big reason why he won, and again, like they're like they vote as democratic system. Let me finish the point. Is the fact that because of it's not specifically one party, I mean two party, and there's a multiple parties, is that he had to adopt a lot of far radical right-wing ideology within his stance to where like there's a lot of people that are just saying flatten Palestine. That's on his whatchamacallit, And that's a product of the fact of like, somewhat of like the non-two-party system in which we critique the two-party system heavily. But just allow me to finish the statement.
But he was talking first though. You cut him off to tell him.
Oh no, I was giving him context.
I get the context, but I don't agree.
Okay, go ahead.
Because like, are we talking about like in the instance the non-two-party system is doing fine for the Israelis? It's not doing good for the Palestinians. Like, yeah, they're getting fucked up because Israel ain't.
All right, so Johnny, you actually are really good at like foreign affairs. What was happening before this whole attack over there inside Israel? They were not the settlements. I'm talking about within the Israeli like just the democracy.
Oh, well,
they were about to throw his. They was about to throw his ass out.
They were having
pretty much do a part 2. Oh, it's still recording?
Yeah, it's still live. We didn't get the stream.
We're still live. Oh shit.
Oh no. Was I eating cookies and talking about my biraciality?
But they wouldn't have got any of that other good shit.
Yeah, we wouldn't in the
airplay. Hey, listen, y'all understand that this is F it, we do it live, and we living by that motto right now. So
hey, shout out to Spectrum.
We
too.
just need about a good 3-4 minutes as we get ourselves back together. We had a small internet outage.
Wait a minute, we're actually live, right? They can hear us?
Yeah.
We back on.
Oh shit. Okay.
When did we turn back on? What was I saying?
It was just now when I connected to the internet.
Oh, hey, shout out to
airplay it for us though, Tom.
Spectrum.
There ain't no shout out to Spectrum, bro.
Yeah, no, shout them out for fucking us up.
Trash.
Yeah,
I got Google Fiber. I love it.
shout them out for fucking us up. You know.
I think I'm about to switch to that.
Google Fiber, I love it.
I think I'm about to switch to that.
Our representatives
I've had
will be in touch.
but
Our representatives will definitely be in touch
I'm about to switch to
for fucking the show up. But
Mint Mobile, $15 a month.
Yeah.
hey, we still got people watching too. Look, that's that.
Hey, Mint Mobile, $15 a month. I'm Ryan Reynolds right now.
What is Mint Mobile?
$15 a month.
That man said he was Ryan.
I know. Again, I'm that didn't answer anything that I said. Okay, phone service. All right.
You ain't seen the commercials for it?
I don't want to.
Ryan Reynolds owns it.
Who's that?
He's an actor. He also owns
Dude from
Deadpool.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's funny.
Shout out to Deadpool and shout out to terrible
All right, so
internet
we had a little
service.
technical interference, but we can get back to rolling. Where was we at, man?
Okay, I'm gonna answer the question real quick because I know y'all about to get
Q
into it.
was damn near in the box.
I'm gonna let y'all get into it, but the answer to your question about a two-party system, the problem that we have is the same problem we have with our education system.
Okay.
If you go to school right now, you're gonna learn everything that was taught in the 1950s, right? You don't learn. There's like no progression. So that's part of the problem is that there's no. Everybody is conditioned to think you have to be one or the other. But what's happened is from a age and economic perspective, I should be a Republican, right? I should be, but I can't be a Republican because of the Christianity aspect has taken over the GOP. So now everything about the GOP is dictated by religion for the most part. Abortion rights, gay rights, all of those things. No, the issue with those things has nothing to do with anything but religion, especially the gay topic. So you have, it's no longer Republican and Democrat, it's liberal and conservative. And liberal has become a bad word because it's like, then you get into people thinking it's communism, people thinking it's socialism. So that's the issue is we don't have a two-party system. We have two different schools of thought, which is more conservative and liberal. I think we could have other parties, but it becomes division of the numbers. So in order for us to have less than two parties, we'd have to get rid of the electoral college. We would have to get rid of the way in which people raise money. There's all of these things that are around the rules around how our government is that.
But hypothetically, even if we just kept the electoral colleges and exactly how it is, I don't know who is it like. Abe Lincoln said like a statement about like the worst thing that could happen to America is the two-party system or something like that. I don't know. But like just hypothetically, let's just say
it ends up staying. Some odd, the electoral college is the 200. So how do you get, because if the more parties you have, the more the division of those electoral college votes. So you would never get the 200 and whatever.
I'm not even a fan of electoral college. I think
it should be the small.
I'm a true believer in true democracy. I think that people should vote.
One vote.
And true democracy should always come in, especially if we're talking about a multi-party system. It should we should like if we're gonna go to more than two parties, we should definitely get rid of electoral college and go to more of a true democracy. That's one thing I do believe. Like electoral college is one way that they have fooled us into thinking that like we are a democracy. We're not even a democracy in this country. We're a republic.
Yeah.
We don't vote for like the issues that we want. We vote for representatives, and then they get up there and they get paid off and they go do whatever the fuck they want to do.
Absolutely.
And they don't care about us. Like once we vote for them, once the votes get cast and they go in there, they don't work for us no more.
Right. And so we also gonna act as if the votes actually are what is pushing the move or pushing our leadership in one way or the other. I don't believe that we actually have any, real say.
It's them little white envelopes that ain't got no names on it.
Because one of the people who I follow is AOC, Alexander.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So AOC was talking about how important it is for constituents. And granted, this might be House versus Senate, because remember that they're two totally different things. Senators sit there forever and don't go anywhere.
Right. And AOC, she's in the House, right?
Yeah, she's in the House.
Okay.
And so I think that a lot of the politicians that are in the House tend to be more influenced by the public because of how voting and how they have to, they have to get elected in. So, she said, call your congressman. She goes, because believe it or not, we actually do pay attention to that stuff. So I think for the House, we do have an influence and we do matter and we can do things. At the state level, we have the ability to vote for our city councilman to vote, right? But the Senate and the president, I really don't know what I'm going to do because I cannot stand Trump. I don't want to vote for Trump, but with this Israeli thing, I don't want to vote for Biden either.
Robert Kennedy.
No, I'm not voting for Robert Kennedy either. I don't like him either. I would. Vivek
Ramaswamy. Let me stop.
Yeah, but I also honestly, I'm not a person. I don't really like boxes. So like two-party system, you have to identify as one or the other. I really don't care for that at all.
Right.
I don't care what side you sit on.
Independents don't have enough momentum. I mean, maybe this election, if somebody was, and maybe you're right, Robert Kennedy, but if somebody was to run independent, because the two options that we have, a lot of people aren't happy with those two options.
Kennedy's independent.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's why I agree with you.
Yeah, it's just I think I'm not like I guess I'm not even just a traditional person. I just kind of have views that people will. Oh, now that makes your dish. But anyways, like the idea of boxes and trying to say that everyone in this box has this thought process. I think that we are too complex as individuals and multifaceted. I was thinking about like if you look at how your algorithm does, if you just want to watch funny stuff today and you're in the mood for funny stuff, then when you wake up tomorrow, they still want to throw this down your throat. But maybe I don't feel like that today.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And so I always want kitten memes.
Yeah, I mean, but
I'm telling you, kittens and small cows. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think that like
small cows.
Yeah, they're mini cows, like they're mini. Yeah, I'll send you some.
You're talking about the ones that people have in their houses.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Oh,
and baby goats. Like these are the things
and baby goats.
That's how I stay safe.
Baby goats.
But yeah, you said. Yeah, so I don't really I'm not so big. At first, like I grew up my dad's strong Democrat. Yeah, man. Now he's the he's not Republican, but what he didn't realize is that a lot of the things that he stands for as an individual are more conservative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But and then it's also we had this conversation previously. It's like, well, your personal life and how you govern yourself, does that mean that that we should as a people be governed on your personal beliefs? And so
I think abortion is a topic that hits home with that. I think that there's a lot of people who are torn because from a personal perspective, they don't agree with abortion, but they don't want to necessarily influence a woman's right to choose. So, you know what I mean? So I think that it's another, what you said.
Another good one is like being a part of the stock market.
Yes.
You being in the market is, and I will, of course, I want.
Are you talking about Shorty?
Say it again.
So you talking about Shorty?
No.
I think talking about what's homegirl that made it rich off of stock market picks after understanding like pretty much what the industry was going to be dictated by policy.
He said
maybe that's is that Nancy Pelosi? I don't know.
No, you talking about
you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Go ahead.
If I give any financial advice, I done said this before. Follow the senators. Follow the House of Representatives. I don't know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, there's one that they say if you want to just like
Nancy
bet
Pelosi.
above the.
I think that's Nancy.
That's
okay,
Nancy
Nancy.
Pelosi.
Yeah, niggas knew what I was talking about.
You
I
said
understood.
shorty.
Oh, no, I thought
Nancy Pelosi is not a shorty.
Definitely not. But I thought you
not a shorty.
definitely
She is a female. I was using.
Not a shorty.
So listen, all right.
Not a shorty.
So that was slang. I'm gonna use. I was using colloquialisms to express
shorty.
a female to our audience and make sure that I
you talking about somebody who had a show like one of these
Yeah,
little podcasts.
he said shorty talking about Nancy Pelosi.
this nigga was talking about politics. We talking politics. What else I'm talking about? But go ahead.
But no,
I was just saying, like, I wouldn't. I being in the market, it doesn't necessarily, because of course, if you're being more conservative, if I was to vote on when does the economy, or when do people in the market make money? Well, we're gonna say during war times. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't be against a war because that's when you line your pockets. You wouldn't be against. There are a lot of things of being in the market that you would be against, wouldn't be against. But socially, for everyone, I don't believe that we should, because I want to make money. I am more conservative. I'm not going to vote conservative just because I want to make money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Fun fact: I don't own any stock. I don't have a single. Not one stock. I don't own any stock.
That's actually interesting.
Right, because knowing me, you would think, right? But it's because I don't believe in making money off of the labor of others. And so the stock market.
So you're not like you're not in favor of like capitalism in general.
No. I love capitalism. I think people should make money, but I don't think people should make money off of, like, for example, all of the CEOs that make millions of dollars to sit in meetings, and I deal with these corporations, right? So that's what I do for a living. I'm a consultant to businesses. So I deal with corporations that are publicly traded and whatnot. And you see these, that everything that all the decisions they make are for shareholder value.
Mm-hmm.
And the shareholders are people who are sitting on their asses who have stock certificates, and they're trading stock or they're getting dividends for doing what? Putting their money up. So meanwhile, and I, please understand, I do not believe in communism either. I think that's a whole other swing to the pendulum.
Right,
but I think that, companies that are employee owned, companies where there is a balance of, you, Mr. CEO, don't mean to make 70 million. You can make 35 million, and 35 million could go back into the pockets of your employees, right? Because they're the ones who are actually doing the work. And so that is why the money that I have is money that I've earned. And even more so because I'm a consultant, I don't have employees. So all of the money I make is because people are paying me for my brain, my work, and what I do.
So capitalism with equitable profit share.
Yes.
I think I consider that more of a free market society, because capitalism, when I think of capitalism, I think of corporatocracy, and it comes down to the power is monopolized amongst the small few who own most of the capital,
and they don't.
And that's why that's why when I say I'm not a fan of capitalism, it's because not that I'm not a fan of free market society and people be able to earn their money. I'm just not a fan of the most quote unquote successful people in our society being able to control the society, and that's my issue with capitalism.
Yeah, and the thing for me is it's the decisions that these companies make are always for profit and not for the betterment of society. And so you have a lot of lobbying. Perfect example.
That's why they should get rid of. That's why they should get rid of. I totally disagree with lobbyists and lobbying, because it allows the richest people in our nation to control the lawmakers. It's just fucking crazy that we allow that shit.
What I was going to talk about was healthcare. We have a for-profit healthcare system, and it's not just. And at this point, it's not even the doctors making money. It's Novant Health, it's Atrium Health, it's and the insurance companies, and they are in collusion with each other.
And they're owned by even bigger companies.
Right,
but
they're
like McCloskey owns a bunch of them shits.
They're all publicly traded, and they all operate for profit. So the doctors cannot make decisions for your best interest and for your best health. They're making decisions for profit. And so that goes across almost every industry. And that's the reason why, because and then you look at people like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, There's no way. I don't know if you guys have saw this should have been the meme I sent. The meme of the 1 grain of rice versus the billion grains of rice, and the difference, like what 1 million is one
compared to 1 million compared to 1 billion is,
and there's no way that those people can spend all of that money in their lifetime. However, our laws.
We're talking about seconds and how long it is. Like 12, like a million seconds is like a week, and a billion seconds.
Oh yeah,
is
listen.
37 years.
I never thought about it, but that gap is extreme because it's 100 millions.
But realize our laws preclude
4,000 millions. My bad.
Our laws preclude them for giving all their money away. You can't, as Oprah, if she wanted to, could not give all of her money away. Just here you go, here you go, here you go. There's, and especially,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because there's taxation against it. But people, Oprah might be able to, I think, but Elon, I know for a fact, Elon Musk, Gates, Bill Gates, and Jeff Bezos, they can't, because they would be dumping, because most of their billions of dollars is in stock, right? So it's not, they are not cash rich. I mean, I'm sure they have cash, but you know what I'm saying? The majority of their wealth is
and that's
in
another
stock.
thing.
So they can't dump their stock. If they were to say, you know what, I don't want to have $189 billion anymore. I want to have 1 billion, and I'm going to give 188 away. It would be illegal, because the only way for them to do that would be to drop their stock. And if they sold all their stock, the stock market would crash.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? So we've set them up that they can't even be, you know, altruistic if they wanted to be. Now Bill Gates has started to with the foundations, and they're starting to do, you know, like and
don't trust
Scott, Mackenzie Scott just gave away.
Well, this is the different conversation that y'all are probably disagree heavily.
Scott just gave away billions and billions of dollars, right? She's starting to liquidate her stuff, but it's a process. They can't just wake up one morning and put it back into society.
So I do want to kind of refocus back to the conversation about two-party system, in which I do think, like, naturally when we get into politics, we do have to just include the money side of it, because the money side is like a very big
as Americans, especially as Americans.
But all right, so as you know, we've heard each other's opinion, and it sounds like a lot of y'all kind of like sit on the fence of like multiple party system would be better, right? And that it is possible. So I asked my next question would be, do you not think that, well, one, I have two questions. One is, are you worried about the threat of extremists when it comes to the two-party system? I mean like a multiple party system. And then there's the idea of, in general, and this is why I use the example of Israeli. You can look at Japan. Again, allow me to just finish the statement. You look at Israeli, you look at Japan, you look at like pretty much all the parties that all the countries that have multiple parties. From what I have seen, is that it all still ends up being everybody conglomerating into like voting for this person or that person, and them galvanizing all the other different like specific political sects that exist within the country. And that's, again, including the extremists. So I'll throw that out.
But what happens in those situations? Yes, if you have multiple parties, like we went from 2 parties to 7 parties, in order to get
only one candidate.
In order to get elected, you might have to have 4 of the 7 parties on your system. But guess what comes with like making concessions? First of all, you're gonna have smaller representation. Each party is gonna have a smaller group, and they're gonna want more specific and focused things that they want.
That then brings in the idea of, are you worried about extremists?
But no, what I will say is you have to make coalitions, but what will happen is if your person wins, you will have better representation for your actual thoughts and beliefs in the actual government. You will have better representation versus if it's just 2 parties, and because extremism is going to be there no matter what. We have extremism in this country, and with 2 parties. So to act like extremism is just something that happens with multiple parties, like it happens.
I guess what I'm saying is that, like, so if you look at how
it's going to be there, but if we're talking about multiple parties, if you have to get 4 of 7 parties to agree with you in order to win versus just 1 of 2, there's going to be more representation. You're going to have to make more concessions to get those 4 groups on your side.
So
you're
Johnny,
have to pass different laws. You're going to have to represent those 4 parties way better in order to stay in power.
Sure, but again, it then goes back to what are those 4 parties. So I think that if we talk about extremists and we look at politics and we look at America, we have an example of what that looks like. There's a difference between like dog whistling and outright pandering. So a lot of people will say that Trump did a lot of dog whistling because he knew who he wanted to grab in.
He did some pandering too.
He knew who he wanted to grab in, but he couldn't outright say it. But all right. So like, I think sometimes we conflate the idea of like
him letting Kodak Black out of jail wasn't pandering to black people.
Of course it was, but that's not what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm talking about the tiki torch whites. I don't give a fuck about what he do for black people because that shit ain't that shit is
black.
That
you
shit
should care about what he do for black people more than what he do for them white boys.
All right. Because of
and what he did for black people.
Cool. All right, so Johnny, let me finish talking because what he's doing for black people is just hot sauce in a bag. It's the Hillary Clinton bullshit. It's pandering. It's letting Kodak Black out of jail, right? No, what he's doing for them white folk, the ones that he's whistling for, the tiki torch walking whites, the ones that he's only dog whistling to. But imagine if he actually had to do exactly what the Tea Party used to say, do exactly what the alt-right said. That shit's way different than fucking pandering to black people. Let's be real about that.
But then even most, like if we talk about a multiple party system,
yeah, guess who's going to be on the far right?
A lot of Republicans wouldn't even vote for the Tea Party. So like, just because you talk about extremism don't mean everybody. If we just split our 2 parties into 7,
you just said in 4 of them. Guess what? One of those 4 is going to be
the Tea Party. But guess what? Another one of them 4 is going to be. It's going to be some.
Hey, and guess what's going all the way over there on that left? That's going to be part of them 3. A bunch of shit y'all niggas don't like.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say. That's exactly what I was going to say. But so how does 2 parties represent us any better than multiple parties? Because at least if there's multiple parties, yes, you're gonna have the extremism.
I think that shit is polygamy.
No, the extremism is still
that
there.
That shit sound good and it sound like you can get all the sex you want.
Can I finish?
That's all I'm saying. My bad.
The extremism are the spokespersons for each of the 2 parties. Now, if you had multiple parties, those extremists would be their own entities, and you would have more spokespersons for the average persons, and you had spokespersons that didn't represent the extremes on both sides. You'd have more spokespeople. You'd have better representation for the average person. It would actually take away the power from extremism. If you had multiple parties, and when you have multiple parties, it gives extremism more power because you can take over.
You said when you have multiple parties. Yes.
No, when you have 2 parties, it allows extremism to take over because you can consolidate one of those 2 parties into your extreme beliefs.
Well, what's happened now is you're with the 2 parties that we have talking points. So for example, if you're anti-abortion, then you have to vote for Trump because Trump is going to change this was before. Trump is going to change the Supreme Court, which he did, which he was supported in doing, and that's exactly what happened. So and again, what cracks me up the most about Trump supporters is to circle all the way back to Christianity is they'll sit there and say he's God's chosen and he's going to save the babies and all this stuff. Never mind, he said grab by the pussy. They're not ever going to bring that up. They're going to say, oh, they're not going to talk about the fact that he divorced 3 women and cheated on his wife. He's going to abortion. And that's what's important to me as a conservative. So that's what I'm going to vote for. I'm going to vote for Republican because Republican are for less government and lower taxes, even though statistically the taxes on lower and middle class were raised and the his policies were more conservative on finances. So I just think that he didn't necessarily deliver on lower taxes and less government because technically speaking, the abortion thing is more government. Right? You have the government now telling you what you can or cannot do with your body.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
But then for me, I voted for Biden against any and all logic. Only my concern with
because that was
Trump
the
is,
only other choice you had.
Exactly.
Like it wasn't because you believed in that
Right,
motherfucker.
right.
It was because that was the only other choice.
Oh,
I want
you
AOC.
think that in a
I
multi-
love him. I love her. But the thing is that Biden, I think, tricked everybody. But my worry about Trump was that Trump was going to become a dictator. Just like what Putin, that's my issue with Trump is more so.
But that's why they was
do
doing that.
That's why I wouldn't ever vote for him again because
Putin
said certain shit that
because Putin wiped out his government. So I believe if Trump gets back in office, he's going to dismantle our current, not that our government is great, but he's going to dismantle it to the point where he can have unlimited terms. He's going to become a dictator.
To your point, here's another thing I got. Why I would never vote for Trump is during like peaceful transfer of power is the one thing we have as a democratic society. He literally tried to fuck that up.
Yeah,
I'd never vote for him off of that. We were literally passing the joint over, like that's how we do in this country. We're not a dictatorship. We're not none of communists. We peacefully transfer power over between side to side, between enemies. That's what happens. He was the first person that ever tried to fight against it. That's problematic for me.
That's why I think
that's why I would never vote for him again. It's not that I'm against all Republicans. I'm just saying Trump was and I ain't really cared nothing about anything he did up until that point. But at that point, when it comes to peaceful transfer of power, if you don't want to let go of your power, that tells me something about you. And that's why I'm against Donald Trump.
So, Johnny.
But Republicans, I don't have anything against them more than I have against Democrats.
That was the plane landing. You
Man,
finished that one out.
No, we landing these things. I think y'all getting a little turned up.
I'm kind of hot, but
this is the normal episode. This is literally this.
I didn't have any, so I feel like I might have
okay.
But, so Johnny, I'm today I'm pretending to be Johnny. So I'm trying to just keep it moving. Yes. I understand that you enjoy your political conversation, and Johnny typically this is for the To Be Fair listeners. Typically after the show, me and Johnny continue these conversations for another hour and a half to 2 hours. 2 hours. So Johnny, we're gonna have this conversation a little bit later.
Okay.
And we'll unpack it, and you know what I mean, like we're gonna put all the Amazon box and all like tape on it and all that. So Miss Amy, I'm gonna actually ask you this question.
Yes.
We got 2 topics left. We're only gonna go with one.
Okay.
Just because we kind of ran over a little bit. We have one conversation that dives into the idea of are we tired of listening to relationship conversations on podcasts? Is that a fair representation of your
should we
stop listening to
Are we tired to?
Cool.
Is it problematic to continue listening?
Okay, so I will answer that.
Wait, not we hold on.
I thought that was a question.
No, we only gonna do one of these. Okay. And then the other one is seemingly a body count conversation that deals with body count.
He said a maximum.
Yeah, something about that. I don't know. Is that a fair representation?
I don't understand why we ain't on the same place. I already said we're gonna just do Johnny's question. Then what is the
I just wanted to
open and asking a question about which way we going. We already done decided that part.
I think that they actually tie together. So
okay.
So he asked me.
Well, what is he?
Johnny giggling too much. I can't even answer the question.
Right, Johnny don't be understanding that part.
Take a breath.
Nah, Q tried my boy real.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I thought that either question could land better, but
I'm gonna combine the two. Okay, so based on the podcast that I have seen, and granted, I don't see all of them, but if I'm talking about the big ones, the academics and the Adam 22s and stuff like that, I feel like that besides Carisha and her little wild ass, I think it is unheavily weighted towards men having conversations where, and even this, God bless y'all and thank you for having me, but it's 3 men and me, right? There's not a whole lot of relationship conversations that are women-run podcasts. Most of the bigger podcasts are run by men.
I disagree.
I'll push back on that.
Okay, well then I said from my limited exposure.
I think most women-run podcasts are relationship podcasts.
Yeah.
That's okay. Facts. I will say that, but the point is that I don't think anybody's ever going to be tired of those conversations or not want those conversations until and unless we all come together and have a wonderful kumbaya, which I don't think is ever going to happen. Men are always going to be men. Women are always going to be women. We have our way of thinking. Y'all have your way of thinking.
We can kumbaya on the 2B Fair show.
Segue into body count. I think that body count is, I think not just body count, I think anything. You cannot change what you have done, what you have said. There's nothing at all that once a moment has happened in time that it can ever be changed. Period. Once you shoot a gun, that person is dead. Once you call somebody a bitch, you've said it. Once you whatever,
bust a nut,
whatever. There you go. There's a baby coming out the other at some point.
Or you can use contraception.
Yeah. Or not.
I wasn't gonna say I wasn't gonna go baby, but I was gonna say that nut was bust.
You cannot, just like Tone said, he found God, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are who you are until something happens that makes you be somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So just because a woman has 50, 70, 100 men on her body count, the day she wakes up and decides that you're the one she wants to be with for the rest of her life, you're the one.
And just for the record, and I agree with everything you just said, but just for the record, if you do such a thing, you're not a born again virgin because you decide today. No, that's not a thing. That is not a thing. Just for the record.
The thing that's funny is I say that. Mm-hmm. Wow, my grandmother said this to me, and I imparted it to my child, and I have lived this. Every time you have sex with somebody, you share a piece of yourself with that person. So, how many pieces of yourself do you want in the world? That's what my grandmother told me. So that my decision to have my body count be whatever it will be that we will not name,
right,
was based on that. Now, I think that there is a point in time where you're like, I'm going to enjoy my 20s and I'm going to snort cocaine and drink, 5 bottles of vodka, whatever, and whatever happens, right? I think everybody goes through that, but any sober, sane person is going to make a choice. The other thing I think, now this is, I'm going to go all the way out here and then you guys can bring it back. The other thing I think is that we don't teach women how to masturbate. And I say that because I met a girl. So I had so our society. So when Quint was coming around my house, I had 45 godsons basically. And like the 3 or 4, they were all like people coming to my house recording. There's just a lot of men coming around my house. And but there were some girls. And one of the girls, they called her a crew bop. She hit off. Like I think we counted 17.
Hold on.
No, but let me get finish the story.
What was the name? Crew bop?
They called her the crew bop.
Crew bop.
This girl, God bless her, sweetest girl ever. Let me finish the story, Johnny. Dang. So she came to my house one day, and I called myself counseling her, and I was like, I know of at least 17 of my sons that you have, been with. Why is that? She said, well, Miss Amy, I really like sex. I just like sex. I said, okay, well, why don't you masturbate? Oh, I couldn't do that. That's nasty. So masturbation is nasty, but hitting off 17 men who know each other is not. And that's the problem. So there's an episode of Oprah where Dr. Laura was talking. I'm going to make this short. I'm not going to give you the whole rundown, but basically it was a story about sex. And Dr. Laura said the problem is that men can discover their penis all on their own. Y'all find it, it's there. You figure out what happens with it. Women are not, unless somebody tells you that it's okay or teaches, or you accidentally find it, which is not that easy to do. Women don't understand that. So what happens is the first time a woman is with a man or another woman, first time she's with somebody and that person makes her feel that way, she feels like she has to find a person to make her feel that way.
She's connected.
So then what happens is if you really enjoy that feeling, you're going to keep pursuing it in whatever way you can, and that's going to contribute to your body count.
And you're going to also falsely like inflate the people that can make you feel that way.
Exactly. And so if masturbation was more a comfortable topic, and if women especially were encouraged, you know what, you're in control of what you feel and how you feel it, then they wouldn't be out, because like I said, that girl literally thought that touching herself was something disgusting and nasty. So she let other people touch her, and her body count, we only counted 17 that we knew of, right? So I think that there's a contribution to that, as so that's my comment on body count. I don't know why this man
looking at me.
Thank you very much.
I will answer the question.
17. That was the number.
17. No, but based on our understanding, based on our understanding, it was well above that. You know what I mean? But I just honestly, the only reason why I had the body count thing as a conversation, I just think it's a hilarious conversation. I was trying to put it in more of a fun kind of thing.
Oh, did I just take it down?
No. It's still a fun conversation. It still could be a fun conversation, but I will answer Johnny's question about do you think whether we should just kind of chalk the relationship conversations on podcasts. To me, I think that it is doing more on the surface, and they call it like a gender war. On the surface, I think that in live time now, it seems as though it's a war. I don't really think that it's a war. I honestly think it's literally the only reason why it's called a war is because now men have been hearing the things we've been doing our entire lives.
Right.
So now you're hearing men speak about their wants and desires openly. Now it's a war. No, but it's not a war. At the end of the day, I think as time continues on, I think that we will have a better understanding of what each other are looking for. Because men we weren't vocal trying to actually tell, even with our partners.
Right.
We were being, just going through and then never saying anything because we don't want to have the conversation that it's going to be that's going to happen after I tell you what I don't like. I only want to have the conversation, so I'll just keep that in. And then we've allowed people to go along their lives thinking that he's always been the problem. Every relationship I've been in, it's always been him, and it's really our fault. So now that men are vocalizing their concerns and what they will and will not put up with, I think that we'll have a better generation of people looking to be with one another. I think that the conversation is also, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
But I think that it's very constructive for us to have platforms that not necessarily discuss it in a bashing way. You know what I mean? But I think it's beneficial for people to hear, to people to have to be held accountable.
Yeah.
It's beneficial. If there's no accountability, then where are we going to go if we just continue to lead? You know what I mean? To lead everything, we're going to have more single parent households. You know what I mean? We're going to have more divorce. The high divorce rate will continue to increase. These conversations are sparking conversations within relationships to where people are be able to get to know each other even better. And you know what I mean? Open the lines of communication amongst each other. I think that it's very, very beneficial.
Go ahead.
I just want to respond to that, especially since he's answering my question. I want to give a little more.
You go right ahead.
A little more insight into where my conversation, my question didn't necessarily come from the gender war aspect. Wasn't thinking about like what women are saying about men having. My question was, should we not listen to relationship podcasts just based on all the shit I'm hearing from men talking? And I hear men, they're on this one side where they're like, you got to provide. And if you're not providing and protecting the family, you're not a real man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also hearing on the other side where men have to be more emotionally open and emotionally intelligent for their partner and all of their shit. And to me, in my head, when I listen to both of them podcasts, there's not enough space for both of them podcasts, because it's like, if I'm 100% protecting and providing, then like, shouldn't I get grace for not being emotionally available? And if I'm emotionally available, shouldn't I also have grace if I can't 100% protect and provide? And my only thing was like, there's two different spectrums of the conversation, and I've seen both sides. I'm a person that understands both sides. But my thing is, we should stop listening to either one of them sides. And as a people, we're having relationships in real time with real people. Like, we should start looking at our partners and our women and like just worrying about like, how can I be the best partner? What makes sense for me? What makes sense for, I'm dealing with this woman and she's bringing XYZ to the table. How can I be a good partner to this woman? And you don't necessarily have to be the whole protect or provide, or like a lot of the relationship conversations are only based on like the extremes of what we're talking about, like even politically, but like the extremes when it comes to traditional versus modern relationships.
Well, I think it's also like love languages, right? So, for me, I don't need a provider.
Right.
Do I need a protector? Yeah. Do I need somebody who I need intellectual stimulation? That's me. My daughter is different. My best friend is different, right? So I think that's the same thing with men. You are a protector provider type of a person. So the woman you are with is going to, if you pick the right woman, which I'm assuming you have, she's gonna. That's that you meet.
That's what she's gonna value.
That's what she wants, right?
She gonna value that.
So I think what happens is, even going all the way back to the Cheesecake Factory conversation, you know, you have to find the person who is, and this is so cliche, but the yin to your yang, right? The yin to your yang is that, you know, you have to find somebody who, you know, when you meet that person, they balance whoever it is you are. And even if we talk about the guy that was on there, that's, you know, an effeminate dude, he is confident in his masculinity. He may be somewhat effeminate, but, you know, so is Prince. You find the woman who wants that and who likes that. And if you are, you know, if you are heterosexual, but you like to be fashionable, find a woman who wants to style you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what, but about the podcast, I think the what's missing in the podcast is exactly to your point. They're too heavily weighted. If you look at, you know, and again, I'm talking about the bigger ones that I know of, but even the ones, if you say the ones that are mostly women, you have, you know, the Wendy Williams or Carisha or whatever, which is women talking to women, and then you have men talking to men. There's not a whole lot of balance.
Carisha, please. This is
right, but even if you look at Breakfast Club, right, it was 3 dudes and a woman. We're 3 dudes and, like, you know, and it might be the other way around. It could be 3 women and 1 man, but it's, you know, I have yet to see the only podcast that I ever saw that had somewhat of a balance. It had like 4 dudes and a whole table of girls. And but all the girls were bubbleheads. They were all like,
you talking about Fresh and Fit.
Yes.
That's not a good example.
Exactly. But that's the only one I've ever seen. That's the only one I've ever seen that had, you know, I mean, it wasn't even a balance. But I think if you have podcasts where you actually have people on an equal level of intelligence and you have a balance of male and female, and you have a balance of conversation, you can have it can be productive. I think the reason that some of them are, to your point, are not productive is because, you know, you put a whole bunch of men in the room, they're going to bash women. You put a whole bunch of women in the room, they're going to bash men, right? If everybody's in the room together, you kind of have to play nicer.
And so the thing is, when I say, like, and why I say we shouldn't, like, well, each individual should listen to what they feel is productive for their scenario. But at the end of the day, I think that, like, I know for me, right, getting the going from Kevin Samuels was like the first voice I heard that was
Godfather.
That was the first voice I heard of a man that was actually, like, being upfront about the way that he kind of, you know what I mean, the way that he thought, you know what I mean, about women, and was unapologetic about it. And over time of listening to that, then it was like, okay, I understand what his point is. So now it's time to move on, to hear some more information, to figure out how I actually feel about the thing. You know what I mean? I had never, like, so I was more of the, like, do what my part is. I ain't really into doing a whole bunch of talking. Or I say my piece, I'm done at that point. You say your piece, and you know, we can agree to disagree very, very too often. Right. I was willing to agree to disagree. But in order for me to find where I really thought, you know what I mean, where I felt like was productive in the way that I understand, in the way that I can articulate, I had to learn that by seeing a bunch of these different conversations, and then seeing which ones were actually valuable for me. You know what I mean? And because if it wasn't for that, I know that my understanding and my understanding of leadership in the traditional style is better from listening to different opinions. And these opinions wouldn't have come from just the people around me, because there's not too many people living in my scenario that can tell me certain things. And it was definitely beneficial for me to listen to these different things and then kind of figure out what I believe. But if you just a person that's regurgitating a whole bunch of stuff that you just hearing, then that's, you know what I mean, and you just believe in what folks saying, that if you just doing that, then yeah, I'm sorry, bro. You got to think a little bit deeper than on the.
No, I was talking to Johnny, not you. Keep on.
Yeah, okay. Continue. Yeah. I wasn't cutting you.
Hey, where did Johnny Cup at, bro?
I don't know,
bro. No way. He said
about to throw this man cup in the trash,
right. Bro. What the fuck? He said something, and you were talking.
No, I just did this, and then you started waving and doing all this.
He was just getting my attention that he was going next.
Well, no, I was trying to get his attention to tell him something.
All right,
bro. I was trying to get his attention. Don't take my cup. Don't fucking touch my cup, nigga.
All right,
don't touch my cup, nigga.
All right, so if I understand the actual statement that you said is pretty much the fact that it's polarizing. We shouldn't listen to none of them and throw it all away. Is that like the summary of what you're saying about relationship podcast? You said some people are saying that you should be in touch with emotional intelligence. Some people say be a man. And because they disagree with each other, throw it all away?
No, what I was saying is everybody's relationship is going to be different. And you should focus on what's real life and what's actually in front of you and not listen to podcasts to dictate how you deal and work in relationships. That's my only point, is because you can listen to all these podcasts, but you can deal with something that's in front of you that's contradictory to how this podcast might tell you to feel. It don't mean it don't work for you. It mean that podcast or whatever, it might not be in the same lane that you're dealing with.
I think you have to also think about the intellectual level of the people who are watching the podcast. Because, for example, Andrew Tate. Me watching Andrew Tate and a 16-year-old boy watching Andrew Tate is two totally different results. Right. And I can watch Dr. Umar and listen to 70% of what he has to say and say, you know what, he's 100% right. And 30% of what he has to say is completely against everything that I believe. Same thing with Andrew Tate. Same thing with Kevin Samuels. Most podcasts. You know, like Kevin Samuels. And again, there's clickbait too. So the first time I saw Kevin Samuels, I was like, oh, hell no. Right. And I was like, I will go toe to toe with that man. And, you know, high value man, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm a high value woman. But then when I started seeing the girls he was talking to and what they were saying, what they were, you know, then I was like, okay, I kind of see where he's right. Be like, let me not. I have discernment. I have the intellect for discernment. And it ties all the way back to what we were talking about with religion, right? Because I studied Christianity and I studied that, you know, I took what I wanted from all of those different things to base my foundational belief. Same thing with these podcasts, but you have to realize that there's a lot of people, and I'm not saying I'm the smartest person in the world, but there's a lot of people who don't have the same level of intellectual discernment, and they're gonna, you know, my favorite thing right now on Netflix and all these things, cult things. Watch NXIVM, watch Twin Flame. These are amazing to me because it shows how manipulative the spoken word can be. And if you know, people will follow a cult leader if they are speaking anything and they ignore all of the red flags. And I think that goes back to a lot of these podcasts too, is you have people who are spewing things and somebody finds one kernel that resonates with them and then they blow it out and say everything this person has to say is the truth. And I think that that's the problem, is that people don't have enough discernment to separate what's good and what's bad.
I think that my answer to it would be simply, well, I think it's a couple folds, but I think the main thing, and it kind of encapsulates a little bit of what you were saying, is that audience matters. So like who you're talking to, if your audience and like you're like Fresh and Fit, for example, I'll just use them as like a small example where they speak to the high value man, but in general, their audience are regular people. And so their advice doesn't match up to it. Instead of like saying, let's have nobody listen to no relationship podcasts, because I think that there's a healthy space where from our podcast to many podcasts, there's a humanization. This
ain't no relationship
again, our whole first season was relationship shit. But like the reality is that from our podcast to many other podcasts is there's a humanization of a lot of regular things. Whether it is a traditional perspective or a very modern perspective, I think that what's better and more healthier is let's have more podcasts that talk to the regular person. And whether it's the regular guy that is inside a traditional space or inside a modern space, and like actually humanize what that really looks like, and not be inside exaggerated spaces. I don't think that it's important to not listen to people, because of people are in relationships. And in having that, matter of fact, I'll just throw to a conversation that all of us was having on Friday. And I think that conversation, so all right, so I'll give a little backdrop. So on Friday, we all came, we sat down, and we had a really good conversation. It was about 4 of us, And because of we've all expressed a lot of things, it was so much easier to have that conversation. And to me, the fact of like the conversation is in the air, it's so much easier to be vulnerable because everybody's expressing said thing. And that's my main part to it, is that I think that is less of an, like, of course I think everybody will always say, let's deal with less extremes, but I think it probably is good to have like really average people talk about regular relationships to normalize it and not compare it to Will and Jada, not compare it to Jay-Z and Beyonce, not compare it to, and I can go down the line, but yeah.
No, I think I'll go ahead and that was a good conversation, man. I appreciate Miss Amy for pulling up on us.
Yes, for sure.
Definitely.
Anytime.
Definitely.
I like to talk.
Definitely gave us a different perspective that we might, especially in a lot of the relationship, even the religion conversation.
Yeah, religion, political.
A lot of a different perspective we may not have arrived to on our own. So we appreciate you for coming second time.
Well, I would say what I hope is I try to be careful with my words and say I believe and I think, and not tell you what you believe or what you should think.
Oh, yeah.
And so whether I'm talking to people in my home, whether I'm here, whether I'm posting stuff on Instagram, whatever, I really try to present things for people to think about without trying to influence them to think the same way I have. So I hope I achieve that.
And we appreciate that. Hey, Tone, we appreciate you.
For sure.
Our producer, he be holding it down out there. A lot of the behind the scenes shit that go on, but Tone be holding us down. So we gotta say shout out, Tone. If you still watching, we got a couple viewers in here left. We had technical difficulties. Y'all still fucking with us? Go ahead, hit the like button for us. Please tap in the notification button, subscribe. You'll get notifications for any new shit we doing. Please follow us at D2B Fair Show. We on Facebook, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, and YouTube. It's D2B Fair Show. I am your host, Johnny P.
Over here, real.
It's Q. Special guest, Miss Amy.
Featuring Miss Amy. And we out.
And shout out to my boy Alvin up there. I see you, brother. We're gonna reach out soon for the date.